Chapter 1839. At that moment, the profound life realm vengeful spirit had taken action. Even though he had sensed that Yi Shiwen was very troublesome, he still took action at this time. He couldn't resist the temptation of Yi Shiwen's flesh and blood. Moreover, his eyes flickered with a terrifying light. He had a new plot. He was a vengeful spirit. He had been a vengeful spirit since the moment he was born in a muddle-headed state. He constantly wandered in this sunless, undead abyss. Like other vengeful spirits, he slowly devoured the deathly energy in the air. He constantly fought with other dead spirit creatures and absorbed the deathly energy in their bodies. He didn't know how long such days had passed. It could have been 10,000 years or 100,000 years. Finally, he had stepped into the profound life realm because of a coincidence during these muddle-headed and unconscious days. After entering this realm, he had awakened some of his memories from his previous life. He had learned how to cultivate. The vengeful spirit itself was a combination of the resentment and deathly energy of dead experts. He had been an extremely tyrannical expert in his previous life. Slowly, through cultivation, he had distinguished himself from many other vengeful spirits. He had become the ruler of these vengeful spirits. He had become the king of these vengeful spirits. However, he wasn't satisfied with this. He wasn't satisfied with staying in this sunless, undead abyss and quietly waiting for his eternal sleep. Although dead spirit creatures were already dead in the eyes of many people, they were still living beings. Even if they had memories from their previous life, they were still new living beings. They were born from the bodies of dead people. As long as they were living beings, they had their own lifespan. It was just that dead spirit creatures had a much longer lifespan than ordinary living beings. However, as an existence that had awakened spiritual wisdom and was full of ambition, he absolutely didn't want to spend the rest of his life like this. However, as a living being born in the undead abyss, he was also bound by this land and couldn't leave. He could only go outside for a short period of time during the undead tide. At other times, he couldn't go out. If he wanted to leave, there was only one way, and that was to seize the body of an outsider. In this way, not only would he be able to leave, but most importantly, once he had a physical body, he wouldn't need to be afraid of being restrained by those fierce forces. The human cultivator in front of him, who was brimming with vitality, was the most suitable candidate he had chosen. Only by seizing his body would he be able to escape from these dark days. In a split second, the sharp claws tore through the vast sky and bombarded the top of Yi Shiwen's head. Bang! In an instant, Yi Shiwen had already reacted. He raised his hand to block the attack and blocked it on the spot. The dead spirit monster finally revealed its figure in the void. It roared and stared at Yi Shiwen with bloodshot eyes. It seemed as if it had seen the most delicious food in the world. Only this much? You're still far from being able to kill me. Yi Shiwen's reaction was even faster. The moment he blocked this claw, his other hand clenched into a fist and immediately blasted out. The momentum of the fist was like a tidal wave, and it instantly blasted out. Boom! Bang! The momentum of Yi Shiwen's fist directly bombarded the body of the dead spirit monster. The dead spirit monster was almost blasted away in an instant. It had condensed a physical body, but it was not worth mentioning compared to Yi Shiwen's abnormal strength. He was good at attacking the spirit directly. However, it was simply vulnerable in front of Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen had the enlightening-mind ancient tree to protect his sea of consciousness at all times. So, he wasn't afraid of this kind of attack on the spirit. Crash! The body of the vengeful spirit monster was directly blasted away, and then it crashed into the group of vengeful spirits. The vengeful spirits that were hit were directly smashed into powder, and a large area of the void was smashed. Yi Shiwen's terrifying strength was reflected incisively and vividly at this time. Then, Yi Shiwen directly blasted in. His body constantly spewed out Nanming fire, forming a vast sea of fire that swept across the area. In an instant, he directly blasted into the army of vengeful spirits. Everywhere he passed, there was no one who did not flee. Princess Tianqing was even more dumbfounded. Yi Shiwen's strength seemed to be even more tyrannical than what she had imagined. Ordinary people would have a headache when they encountered these vengeful spirits, because these vengeful spirits had special attack methods, and it was very difficult to deal with them. However, Yishuin dealt with them like a thunderbolt, sweeping through a large area without anyone being able to cover their ears. The attacks of these vengeful spirits did not pose any problems to him at all. She quickly followed up, and her first move was a shocking demonic technique, the Azura clan's 6 Paths of Reincarnation Fist. Behind her, the 6 Paths of Reincarnation wheel appeared, and it crushed those vengeful spirits. Among these vengeful spirits, only a small portion were at the profound life realm, and the majority were only at the celestial realm. Even if it was an expert of the King Division, they would not be able to withstand a single blow in front of her. This was enough to show how terrifying she was. It was not that she was far inferior to Yi Shiwen, but that Yi Shiwen was simply too tyrannical. When they were at the same level, she could practically sweep through them. Even if they were all at the King Division, she would still be the best among them. As for those profound life realm vengeful spirits, they were also wiped clean by Yi Shiwen, and he directly grabbed them to death. He was no longer interested in those celestial realm vengeful spirits, as they were of no benefit to him. Therefore, he left them all for Princess Tianqing. However, Princess Tianqing's small face was charming, and she seemed to have cultivated some unknown demonic technique. After sweeping through and crushing these vengeful spirits, she actually began to absorb the death chi that was bursting out from these vengeful spirits. She was not the least bit fearless. Yi Shiwen's divine sense swept over this scene, and he could not help but be somewhat shocked. However, at this time, he did not care about that. He had such a method to ignore the death chi, but it did not mean that he was the only one who possessed it. There were too many amazing people in this world, and there were also many incomparably mysterious inheritances. From the first day they met, Princess Tianqing had already felt that she was truly mysterious and unfathomable. Although her strength was not tyrannical, it must be said that she knew a lot of things. In fact, it seemed that she knew more than Qinlai, or rather, more than what Qinlai had told her. Yi Shiwen and Princess Tianqing killed their way through and directly rushed into the depths of this wave of vengeful spirits. It was unknown whether there were millions of them or tens of millions of them. They were endless and directly formed an incomparably huge country. Although not all of them had the strength of the profound life realm, but even the celestial realm was already an incomparably terrifying existence. It was enough to sweep through the ancient times, and even the Xian world would be swept by them. Ordinary experts of the late profound life realm would not dare to rush in like this, as they would be killed by these vengeful spirits. However, Yi Shiwen had the enlightening mind ancient tree, and these vengeful spirits' strongest means were already useless against him. Naturally, he had no scruples. Gradually, after directly killing their way into the sea of vengeful spirits, more and more vengeful spirits appeared in front of them. The closer they got to the center, the more tyrannical the strength of the vengeful spirits became. Faintly, Yi Shiwen could clearly see a huge city floating in the void at the center of the countless vengeful spirits' encirclement. Countless divine radiance continuously splashed out from it. This was the capital of the vengeful spirits' country. It was unknown how many divine objects and heavenly treasures were used to form such a dazzling aura. Yi Shiwen's eyes lit up. After being reminded by Yi Mo, he finally understood that the wealth that he could currently control was not as much as he had imagined. This was the place where these vengeful spirits experts had accumulated their wealth for countless years. If he could obtain it, then Yi Shiwen's wealth would soar crazily. Even an expert at the peak of the profound life realm would not dare to rush into such a huge vengeful spirits country. One could well imagine how rare this wealth was. Yi Shiwen immediately grabbed out with his big hand. In the void, it transformed into a huge dragon's claw. A dragon's roar resounded, and it directly grabbed towards this huge city. He wanted to take this huge city under his control in one breath. How dare you? At this moment, an incomparably loud roar resounded from within the city. An extremely powerful expert had directly made his move. Immediately after, an incomparably vast and mighty aura crushed towards Yi Shiwen like a wave. Countless waves crashed towards Yi Shiwen, wanting to smash him into pieces on the spot. "Stop pretending to be mysterious. Come out!" Yi Shiwen shouted loudly. His big hand directly grabbed out, and the dragon's claw tore the countless auras out of the void. Rumble! The most terrifying and intense fluctuations formed a mighty shock wave on the spot, which rumbled in all directions. "You're courting death!" At this moment, 12 incomparably huge, vengeful spirits directly appeared in the void. These 12 incomparably huge, vengeful spirits had green faces and fangs, and were incomparably terrifying. However, these vengeful spirits were different from ordinary vengeful spirits. They were actually rats, cows, tigers, rabbits, dragons, snakes, horses, sheep, monkeys, chickens, dogs, and pigs. These were the appearances of the 12 zodiac signs. Every one of them possessed extremely tyrannical strength and had actually reached the peak of the profound life realm. Any one of them could be considered as a respected expert amongst the ordinary peak of the profound life realm. Yi Shiwen, be careful. Those are vengeful spirits at the peak of the profound life realm. Princess Tianqing immediately became anxious when she saw these vengeful spirits of the 12 zodiac signs, and she hurriedly said, "Puny human warrior, you actually dared to kill the vengeful spirits of my country. You're really bold. Hand over your life." At this moment, the tiger-headed vengeful spirit was the most violent, and it directly pounced towards Yi Shiwen to kill. Roar! The ferocious tiger descended the mountain, and the world shook. Chapter 1840. The attack of an expert at the peak of the profound life realm was terrifying. In an instant, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. An incomparably huge, ferocious tiger rushed out and opened its mouth to bite Yi Shiwen. Roar! An incomparably huge roar was heard as the phantom bit down. Its aura swallowed the galaxy, and it seemed as if the sky was about to be bitten down. Boom! After his entire person was swallowed by the phantom, Yi Shiwen immediately felt endless resentment turning into a monstrous river that poured into Yi Shiwen's mind. It seemed as if it wanted to swallow Yi Shiwen and turn him into an idiot. At this moment, the enlightening mind ancient tree in his body suddenly burst out with astonishing rays of light, protecting him within it. The baleful aura was driven out on the spot and could not affect Yi Shiwen's mind at all. Child's play. Endless Nanming Leaf fire directly gushed out from Yi Shiwen's body, forming a huge sea of fire. This sea of fire submerged the heavens and the earth and instantly expanded outwards. The phantom of the ferocious tiger was burned to death on the spot by the sea of fire in the void. Then, Yi Shiwen's golden figure, which was like a god of war, was revealed. Impossible! At this moment, the tiger-headed vengeful spirit was somewhat shocked. It completely did not expect Yi Shiwen to be able to completely ignore its baleful aura. Even an expert of the same level could not ignore its baleful aura, let alone Yi Shiwen, who was only at the late profound life realm. Why is it impossible? Yi Shiwen laughed loudly and directly rushed forward. These vengeful spirits at the peak of the profound life realm were indeed terrifying. They had endless methods, but most of them relied on the baleful aura to affect one's mind. However, their own strength did not increase by much. When the baleful aura was completely useless against Yi Shiwen, then everything fell into Yi Shiwen's control. Boom! Yi Shiwen clenched his 5 fingers into a fist and punched downwards. Golden divinities spread out, like the yellow river, crashing down with a loud bang. Wherever it passed, the vengeful spirits that were crushing down turned into nothingness on the spot. They directly suffered a disaster. There were even vengeful spirits at the profound life realm among them, but they were not a match for him. He was ferocious and invincible. At this moment, the tiger-headed vengeful spirit finally reacted. It hurriedly blasted out a monstrous, baleful aura towards the golden river that Yi Shiwen had blasted out. Bang! 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 However, these attacks were like hammers. They were smashed into pieces by Yi Shiwen. They were smashed into smithereens. Even the vault of heaven was shaking. Then, they ferociously bombarded the body of the tiger-headed, resentful spirit. Bang! With a loud bang, the tiger-headed, vengeful spirit was sent flying. Its entire body was blasted into nothingness and became transparent. In an instant, it had used up an unknown number of years of accumulated evil chi. So powerful. Why is he not afraid of the malevolent energy and death energy? Does he possess some sort of magic treasure? At this time, Princess Tianqing was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She recalled the yin-yang life and death diagram that Yi Shiwen had brought out earlier. She seemed to understand that there must be a corresponding method. At the same time, a huge golden hand formed in the void and turned into a towering cage. It came crashing down and suppressed the tiger-headed, vengeful spirit. The terrifying power caused the vault of heaven to tremble. However, it was useless. No matter how the tiger-headed, vengeful spirit struggled, it was unable to escape from Yi Shiwen's hand. How can this be? How can this human be so powerful? He is only at the late profound life realm. How can he be so powerful? At this time, the other 12 zodiac vengeful spirits were dumbfounded. Even among the 12 zodiac vengeful spirits, the tiger-headed vengeful spirit was an incomparably tyrannical existence. Its battle strength could also be ranked in the top few. However, it was so easily suppressed. There was practically no resistance from it. This was simply an unbelievable miracle. If someone had told them this before, they would not have believed that someone could be so ferocious. He is only at the late profound life realm, and he is already so terrifying. If he were to step into the peak profound life realm, wouldn't he be able to defeat profound death realm experts? Unbelievable. How can he be so powerful? At this time, the rat-headed vengeful spirit had already begun to tremble with fear. This was practically its instinctive reaction. No, it is impossible for him to possess such tyrannical strength. He must have some way to contend against the baleful aura and death aura that we have blasted out. Otherwise, he would have already been invaded by our baleful aura and killed by us. At this time, the dragon-headed vengeful spirit analyzed. Although it had already seen through the reason why Yi Shiwen was so powerful, it was still incomparably shocked in its heart. It was still trembling. So what if it knew the reason? It was still impossible for it to be Yi Shiwen's opponent. It could only be said that Yi Shiwen was too abnormal. If it was an ordinary late profound life realm expert, even if the baleful aura was ineffective, it should still be able to take him down. Who knew that Yi Shiwen would actually become so tyrannical and terrifying? Let's go. If we continue to stay here, it is very likely that we will be killed by him, said the dragon-headed vengeful spirit. You want to leave? It is already too late. Yi Shiwen sneered and directly crushed the tiger-headed vengeful spirit on the spot. It turned into endless pure power of death and baleful aura. All of it was transformed into pure energy by the yin-yang life and death diagram and Tianyuan mirror, and poured into Yi Shiwen's body. Damn it, set up the 12 zodiac great formation. Only then can we contend against him. At this time, seeing that Yi Shiwen was going to kill them all, the 12 zodiac vengeful spirits had no other choice. The 11 vengeful spirits directly set up the great formation on the spot. A terrifying roar soared into the sky. These 11 vengeful spirits, along with millions of vengeful spirits present, formed an incomparably huge phantom on the spot. It turned into a huge palm and grabbed the air. This incomparably huge palm was surrounded by endless darkness and the law of death. It was extremely terrifying. If an ordinary person were to touch it, they would die on the spot. Compared to just now, it was almost incomparable. Yi Shiwen did not retreat at all. Above his head, the yin-yang life and death diagram directly rotated on the spot. All the death aura within a radius of 1,000 miles was absorbed on the spot and then poured into his body. His body continued to swell. Boom, boom, boom. His body expanded in circles. With each circle that expanded, the aura of his entire person became even sharper. Roar! He let out a huge beast roar and opened his mouth, blasting out a shocking wave of energy. It was like a yellow river was blasted out on the spot. It was mighty and mighty, like a huge torrent of energy, and it blasted out. Rumble! An incomparably huge explosion sounded. That incomparably huge hand and the Yuan Qi bomb that Yi Shiwen had blasted out fiercely collided, setting off a terrifying collision and causing an incomparably huge energy tide. A small mushroom cloud rose up. It seemed as if in a split second, the entire sky was illuminated as if it was daytime. In the incomparably dark, undead abyss, it was simply like a candle in the night. It was exceptionally conspicuous. This boundless shockwave spread out in all directions, sweeping out with the two of them at the center of the collision. Puff! Princess Tianqing was careless and was swept away on the spot. Her whole body was like a kite with a broken string. She was directly blown away and then spat out a mouthful of blood. For an expert of the King Division like her, a battle of this level was simply like a clash between legendary deities. Even the aftermath of the battle could kill her. The collision between the two sides continued. On the gigantic palm, countless vengeful spirits were bombarded by the energy waves and instantly evaporated. However, under the control of the vengeful spirits of the 12 Zodiac, the vengeful spirits persisted and were evaporated continuously. The real Yuan within Yi Shiwen's body was also being consumed at an astonishing speed. Tian Yuan mirror inside his body was constantly burning a large number of medicinal pills and spirit crystals into Lingqi, which was directly instilled into his body. His whole body was simply like a huge sea. Although an innumerable amount of seawater was evaporating, it was still raining all the time and more rainwater was pouring in to replenish it. Both sides were competing in willpower, strength, and foundation. Bang! Finally, there was another violent collision. A huge explosion sounded, and then the entire hand collapsed in an instant. In that instant, hundreds of thousands of vengeful spirits were evaporated on the spot, and an incomparably huge battle dragon was blasted out. Then, these resentful spirits finally couldn't hold on any longer. They fled in all directions on the spot, screaming and fleeing. The Tianyuan mirror and the yin-yang life and death diagram instantly flew out and began to frantically absorb the death energy and evil energy that were overflowing in the sky. Then, they transformed it into a frenzy of energy and surged into Yi Shiwen's body. Yi Shiwen could clearly feel that his martial power had been further enhanced. Stronger, stronger, and stronger. He didn't care about the ordinary, resentful spirits that were scattered in all directions. Instead, he directly rushed towards the 12 zodiac wraiths. This was because he had already heard Yi Mo's hint. If he could devour these 11 zodiac wraiths, he could even attempt to break through to the peak of the profound life realm. If he could achieve this level of cultivation, he wouldn't need to worry about anything in the entire Dead Soul Abyss unless he encountered a profound death realm evil spirit. In that case, the possibility of him obtaining the inheritance of the Dead Soul Lord would also greatly increase. One could well imagine how tempting this was to him. He immediately chased after the 12 zodiac wraiths. Chapter 1841. The vengeful spirits at the peak of the profound life realm were indeed at the peak of the profound life realm. Although they were restrained by Yi Shiwen's enlightening mind ancient tree and were unable to display their true strength, Yi Shiwen was able to single-handedly defeat the 12 vengeful spirits. However, the strength of a vengeful spirit at the peak of the profound life realm was not fake. If Yi Shiwen could completely defeat and absorb it, it would be equivalent to him winning 5 million out of thin air. It would allow his strength to soar to another level. Even if he was at the peak of the profound life realm, he would still have a chance. It would save him a lot of hard work. On the other hand, Yi Shiwen would only be able to protect himself with all his strength if it was some other undead spirit at the peak of the profound life realm, such as the Headless Knight from before. It would be impossible for him to directly start a massacre like he had done against these vengeful spirits. This was the principle of mutual promotion and restraint. With the enlightening mind ancient tree, all attacks targeting the spirit were nothing to him. There was no need to worry about them at all. Damn it, This killing god has no intention of letting us go. Let's go. Seeing that the 12 Zodiac Great Array had no way to deal with Yi Shiwen, all the 12 Zodiac resentful spirits were in complete despair. They had never thought that the 12 vengeful spirits would not be able to do anything to an opponent. Even if it was an expert at the profound death realm, they would be able to protect themselves with the help of the 12 vengeful spirits formation. Who knew that they would encounter such an abnormal person? The attack that they were most proud of was completely useless in Yi Shiwen's hands. They could not do anything to Yi Shiwen at all. At this moment, the only thing they could do was to escape. Whoosh! They directly tore apart the space and hurriedly fled into the distance. Yi Shiwen was about to chase after them. However, at this moment, he saw the capital that had been abandoned by the 12 vengeful spirits. He hesitated for a moment and immediately decided to let the matter of the 12 vengeful spirits go. Then, he directly formed a huge golden hand and fiercely slammed it down. Bang! With a huge roar, Yi Shiwen's big hand slammed into the capital of vengeful spirits. It immediately triggered the counterattack of countless arrays in the capital of vengeful spirits. They turned into countless vengeful spirits and rushed out as if they wanted to destroy the world. However, Yi Shiwen's palm instantly spewed out endless Nanming Li fire, burning everything. All the resentful spirits screamed as they were directly burned into nothingness, instantly destroying all the defenses. Boom! This king's city was blasted into pieces on the spot by Yi Shiwen, and all the wealth had fallen into his hands. Haha, I didn't expect there to be so many. Yi Shiwen scanned the place with his divine sense and found out that there were over 100,000 Xian pills in the capital city. These Xian pills had been accumulated by the 12 Zodiac vengeful spirits for God knows how many years. They were originally meant to be used when they were about to advance to the profound death realm. Now, they had all benefited Yi Shiwen. It could be said that although the lifespan of these vengeful spirits was also limited, but compared to ordinary people, it was undoubtedly much longer. After such a long time, the number of Xian pills that they had accumulated was undoubtedly huge, and many of them were also accumulated from various places in the undead soul abyss. 100,000 Xian pills. Yi Shiwen, all your problems have been solved. As long as you capture those 11 Zodiac vengeful spirits and devour them, you can directly advance to the peak of the profound life realm. Yimo's voice was somewhat excited. Other than the Xian pills, there were also some magic tools. This undead abyss used to be a huge divine kingdom and battlefield. In addition, a large number of profound realm experts would break into this place every 100 years. Therefore, a considerable number of magic tools were left behind. It was unknown where these vengeful spirits had found these magic tools, but many of them were tyrannical magic tools. Now, all of them had fallen into Yi Shiwen's hands. There were also some heavenly treasures that could only be produced in the undead abyss. However, these were nothing compared to the Xian pills. These heavenly treasures could only play their real role in a specific environment. Under normal circumstances, the effects of these heavenly treasures were far less obvious than the Xian pills. At this time, Princess Tianqing finally managed to suppress the injuries on her body and flew to Yi Shiwen's side. At this time, Yi Shiwen noticed that Princess Tianqing seemed to have been injured in the aftermath of his battle. He could not help but feel a little embarrassed. He immediately operated the Phoenix regeneration technique and released a ball of golden light. Princess Tianqing suddenly only felt that she was bathed in a golden light. Then, all the injuries on her body unexpectedly healed at an astonishing speed. At this time, she finally understood that Yi Shiwen dared to rush into such a huge group of vengeful spirits. However, she still felt that he was simply like a monster. It was too terrifying. She suddenly felt a little hesitant in her heart. She also did not know whether the plan in her heart could be realized. I did not expect your strength to be so strong. However, this is also good. For our future plans, the stronger you are, the better. Princess Tianqing thought for a moment and said, "Yes." Yi Shiwen nodded and said, right now he was naturally thinking of all ways to improve his strength. Only by becoming stronger would the probability of obtaining the inheritance of the undead spirit lord be higher. Let's go, let's catch up first, Yi Shiwen said as he directly hugged Princess Tianqing's slender waist. Then, a pair of tempest wings spread out behind him and directly chased in the direction where the 12 zodiac vengeful spirits had escaped. His tempest domain directly expanded to a range of hundreds of miles. Wherever it passed, the remaining vengeful spirits were directly killed in an instant. They would not obstruct his advance. At this time, he did not have time to deal with these remaining vengeful spirits. The level of these vengeful spirits was too low. For him, 10,000 of them might not be as important as one vengeful spirit. It was completely useless. At this time, the 12 zodiac vengeful spirits had already escaped more than hundreds of miles away. Only at this time, when they saw that Yi Shiwen did not chase after them, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. At this time, more than a dozen of the 12 zodiac vengeful spirits actually looked a little embarrassed. They had completely lost their previous attitude of an emperor. This is too terrifying. How can there be such a terrifying existence among the humans? I have killed some experts from the outside world who took advantage of the chaos to come in before, but I have never seen such a terrifying existence. At this time, the dog-headed vengeful spirit could not help but complain at this time. At this time, his face was pale. In the battle just now, he had been directly injured by Yi Shiwen's martial arts. While fleeing just now, he could only forcibly suppress the injuries on his body. At this time, the injuries that he had suppressed suddenly emerged as soon as he stopped. Blood flowed continuously from the corner of his mouth, and he looked extremely embarrassed and incomparably miserable. Compared to us, these creatures from the outside world have an innate advantage. Compared to us, they do not need to hide every day like stray dogs. They can only be in this dark, undead spirit abyss where there is no daylight. Moreover, for us, every time we advance, there is only a slim chance of survival. No, there is simply no chance of survival. The dragon-headed vengeful spirit's face could not help but turn pale. He ferociously looked in the direction that he had fled from, and his tone was filled with resentment. For these vengeful spirits, which were formed from the darkest energy in the world, every advancement was a terrifying test. For ordinary warriors, the heavenly tribulation was already extremely terrifying. In fact, the chances of them surviving were very low. However, for these vengeful spirits, there was almost no chance of success. The heavenly tribulation seemed to restrain them to the point of death. Therefore, even though they had accumulated a wealth of 100,000 Xian pills and had made many years of preparations, they still did not dare to attract the heavenly tribulation of the profound death stage. That was because they still did not have any confidence. Even though they had already stepped into the peak of the profound life stage, they still did not have any confidence. They had a very strong premonition that if they attracted the heavenly tribulation, it was very likely that they would die here. Therefore, they would rather muddle through like this. This was the reason why they wanted to take over someone else's body and leave this dark and sunless dead soul abyss. Although the chances of them stepping into the profound death stage as an ordinary living being was still very small, it was still much better than their current situation. However, what can we do? All of our previous lives were corpses that died miserably in this region. From the moment we were born, we have already been locked in this place. Unless it's during the dead spirit tide, we will not be able to take a single step out of this place. The snake-headed vengeful spirit could not help but say, damn it, damn it. The 12 of us have already lived in this space for countless years. However, because of that brat, who too died, if I can take revenge, I will definitely make him die without a burial place. Forget it. Don't let your thoughts run wild. How is that possible? He simply ignores our baleful aura. Our attacks are completely meaningless to him. Once such a person advances to the peak of the profound life stage, he will truly be able to completely destroy us with a wave of his hand. It's best for us to flee as far away as possible. Once the dead spirit tide ends, these people will also leave. The dragon-head vengeful spirit calmly analyzed the situation. When he thought of Yi Shiwen's abnormal combat strength, he could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. He had never seen such a terrifying human in his entire life. A late profound life stage martial artist like him had beaten up peak profound life stage martial artists like him, causing them to flee for their lives. In the past, this was simply unimaginable. I'm too lucky. I've actually encountered a zodiac vengeful spirit here. Hee hee. All of you shall become my nourishment. At this moment, an incomparably arrogant voice rang out in the sky. Chapter 1842. Who is it? The dragon-headed vengeful spirit immediately raised his head and shouted angrily. The 11 vengeful spirits swept their gazes in unison. Their deep gazes instantly saw through the entire space. Then, they only saw a white-robed youth standing in the void. He had an ostentatious aura on his body. His handsome face carried a somewhat mocking expression as he looked at the 11 vengeful spirits. It was as if he was not looking at a person, but a group of ants. I'm really too lucky. Looks like the heavens are really on my side. Let's see how Qin Lai will compete with me after I devour all these vengeful spirits. He wants to be mentioned in the same breath as me? The man laughed loudly as his eyes grew colder. You want to devour us? At this moment, the dragon-headed spirit coldly shouted. Who do you think you are? That's right. Do you think you're that human man? The other vengeful spirits echoed one after another. They did not believe that everyone was as abnormal and terrifying as that human warrior. There should only be one such monster in this world. If a few more of them appeared, the rest would not be able to survive. As long as it was not a monster like Yi Shiwen who could ignore the baleful aura and Yuan spirit attacks, ordinary late profound life realm experts were existences that could be easily killed. There was simply nothing to be afraid of. What? Have you suffered at the hands of others before? At this moment, the white-robed man said with some doubt, could it be Qin Lai? Among the more powerful people that he knew, only Qin Lai was from the human race, or Jian Wushuang. A cold figure appeared in his mind. He stood there with a sword in his hand. It was as if his entire body had transformed into a sharp sword that shot into the sky. Who cares? You're all going to die anyway. Vengeful spirits are the best. Ha! He immediately laughed loudly again. Damn it. Do you really think that we're some nobody? Everyone wants to bully us. At this moment, the dragon-headed vengeful spirit was completely enraged. They were dignified zodiac vengeful spirits at the peak of the profound life realm. When had they ever been ignored like this? Furthermore, there were 11 of them. They would even dare to fight against a profound death realm expert. Just obediently accept your death. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. The white-robed youth sneered. My name is Zhang Ming. When you go to hell, don't forget to tell the king of hell who killed you. He immediately made his move. With a loud bang, an incomparably huge battle axe came out of his body and slashed towards the 11 Zodiac vengeful spirits. Attack! Zodiac Great Array! The dragon-head vengeful spirit let out a furious roar and instantly created a huge shadow. A huge hand grabbed at the battle axe. Boom! An incomparably loud explosion spread out almost in an instant. Both sides instantly turned into balls of incomparably violent yuan qi. Kill! The complexion of these resentful spirits became even paler. They had already been seriously injured by Yi Shiwen's attack. Now, their injuries had become even more serious. Demonic Sky Array! The dragon-head vengeful spirit let out an incomparably loud roar. A huge wheel instantly flew out from within the Zodiac Great Array. There were 12 Zodiac heads engraved on the wheel. They continuously emitted terrifying auras that suppressed the heavens and shattered the vacuum. This was a magical tool that they had not even used when fighting against Yi Shiwen. At this moment, they had to use it to deal with the person before them. Originally, they were extremely angry. They had actually been underestimated by someone. Furthermore, they were also at the late profound life stage. This was simply an extraordinary humiliation for them. Since they had experienced it once, they would absolutely not allow it to happen a second time. However, Who would have imagined that they would discover that the person in front of them was truly tyrannical and frightening after exchanging blows with him? The might that he had displayed was practically not inferior to Yi Shiwen's. The baleful aura that they had unleashed could not even get close to his body. It was directly cleaved apart by the battle axe radiance that burst out from his body. They could not even get close to him. How can this be? How can there be so many existences that can restrain us? At this time, the dragon-head vengeful spirits couldn't help but wail. They were completely restrained. When facing ordinary experts of the same realm, they could rely on strange methods to defeat the experts of the same realm. But when facing these peerless geniuses who had their own defensive methods, they were almost completely restrained. They were bullied by those who were a level lower than them. It was simply a great humiliation. At this moment, they could not continue to hold back. Otherwise, it was very likely that they would die. They would really die tragically here like that tiger-head vengeful spirit. Interesting. It seems that apart from the baleful aura, you guys still have some other methods. This is a little interesting. If it was too easy, wouldn't there be no sense of accomplishment at all? Zhang Ming said with interest. However, he did not care about it at all. The 12 Zodiac Wheel is said to be a magic weapon refined by the 12 peerless masters of the ancient Zodiac. However, since that era disappeared, the refining method also disappeared. Only some remnants of the cultivation method are left in the world. I did not expect that you guys could actually manifest it. Presumably, you guys should also have the bloodline of the 12 Zodiac in your lifetime. It's a little interesting. No wonder you guys are different from the other vengeful spirits. But why are there only 11 of them? Where is the other one? Zhang Ming touched his chin. Oh yes. Just now you guys said that you suffered a little loss, right? It's a little interesting to make you suffer a loss. Damn, don't look down on us. Seeing Zhang Ming's mocking look, the dragon-head vengeful spirit was even more furious. He was actually treated as a monkey. Under the control of the 11 vengeful spirits, the manifested 12 Zodiac Wheel immediately swept out countless rays of divine light, smashed the void, and directly blasted towards Zhang Ming on the spot. It wanted to kill him completely. If the 12 Zodiac Wheel really comes in person, then I will immediately turn around and leave without saying a word. However, you want to take me down with just a phantom refined by a remnant of the cultivation method? You underestimate me too much. Zhang Ming sneered. It's really not enough. At this time, he instantly made a move. His big hand grabbed towards the void, and suddenly, in the void, a huge battle axe appeared in his hand. This battle axe was outlined with countless simple and unadorned patterns. These were not simple patterns, but Taoist patterns. The traces of the Great Way were directly engraved on the battle axe. Its power was amazing. The radiance of the battle axe made people feel as if their hair was standing on end. Break me! He directly swung the battle axe down. Suddenly, a domineering battle axe exploded with a loud bang, smashing a huge crack that was hundreds of meters wide and thousands of meters long. It blasted towards the 12 Zodiac Wheel. Boom! This battle axe blasted the 12 Zodiac Wheel into pieces on the spot, and the 11 avenging spirits of the 12 Zodiac were blasted away on the spot, like kites with broken strings. The originally organized avenging spirits of the 12 Zodiac Wheel was also completely destroyed. The faces of these avenging spirits were all pale, and their bodies began to gradually become illusory. Originally, they did not have a physical body. After suffering such a terrifying attack, they were somewhat unable to withstand it. That's all there is to it. Without the evil chi, you are nothing. Zhang Ming sneered. The battle axe in his hand emitted a frightening radiance. It was this battle axe that emitted the axe radiance that smashed all the evil chi. The evil chi was completely smashed before it could even approach his battle axe. This battle axe was also a high-grade celestial device. It could even easily smash the evil chi emitted by experts at the peak of the profound life realm. Its power could be imagined. All of you, go to hell. Zhang Ming directly swung the battle axe down with a loud bang. The terrifying battle axe that burst forth directly slashed down. Bang! 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 The 5 avenging spirits closest to him didn't even have the time to let out a scream. They were directly chopped into nothingness by his battle axe and turned into death chi that filled the sky. Then a strange thing happened. The pure death chi and evil chi that these avenging spirits had turned into were all absorbed by Zhang Ming's battle axe. After Zhang Ming's battle axe absorbed the evil chi, his imposing manner clearly became a bit more powerful. Even Zhang Ming's strength had instantly increased by a level. Just a little bit more. After I devour all of you, I can try to break through to the peak of the profound life realm. Ha ha ha, breaking through to the peak of the profound life realm in the Dead Soul Abyss is really interesting. Really interesting. Zhang Ming laughed somewhat crazily. Hurry up and leave. The surviving Zodiac resentment spirits immediately roared and began to flee frantically. At this time, they couldn't think of anything else. This man was even more terrifying than Yi Shiwen. He was even crazier than Yi Shiwen. He was simply a lunatic. You want to leave? Zhang Ming sneered and directly swung the battle axe in his hand. An astonishing battle axe swept out, and the sky within a radius of 1,000 miles instantly collapsed under the battle axe. Just as the axe radiance was about to hit the 6 Zodiac vengeful spirits, a huge golden hand tore through the space and grabbed the 6 Zodiac vengeful spirits on the spot. Bang! An incomparably loud collision sound was heard. It was simply an earth-shattering sound of metal colliding. The battle axe ferociously bombarded the big golden hand, but it couldn't break the defense of the big golden hand. It only erupted with violent fluctuations and the sound of metal colliding. Who is it? Zhang Ming immediately became vigilant. I'm the one who wants to know who you are. You even dare to touch my spoils of war. An incomparably cold voice directly came from the void. Chapter 1843. I should be wondering who you are. How dare you touch my spoils of war? A cold voice echoed from the void. Then, 2 figures slowly appeared in the void. It was a man and a woman. The man was dressed in green and looked rather elegant. He had an indifferent expression on his face. The woman, on the other hand, was extremely beautiful and looked somewhat alluring. Who are you? Zhang Ming looked at the newcomer and watched him collect all the demons he had defeated. A murderous look flashed across his face. How dare he steal his spoils of war? Was he out of his mind? Or was he out of his mind? You are Princess Tianqing. Zhang Ming recognized the woman beside him. She was Princess Tianqing of the Dark Nation. Even though he had never paid much attention to the princesses and princes of the Dark Nation, he had still met Princess Tianqing a few times and had some impression of her. Soon, he recognized Princess Tianqing. Moreover, according to the information he had obtained from the elders, he was able to quickly speculate that this man should be Yi Shiwen, who had escaped together with Princess Tianqing. You are Yi Shiwen? He glanced at the green-robed man. It seemed like he wasn't as strong and powerful as he had imagined. It had already been a miracle that he had been able to escape from the hands of the old man from the heavenly nunnery. He was merely a profound life realm martialist. Yet he had actually been able to escape from the hands of a peak profound life realm expert. If the old man from the heavenly nunnery hadn't said it himself, he wouldn't have believed it. That's right. Since he had recognized him, Yi Shiwen didn't intend to deny it. He also learned from Princess Tianqing's voice transmission that this person was Zhang Ming of the Divine Union. No wonder he had been able to recognize Yi Shiwen at first glance. Since he was from the Divine Union, there was nothing strange about it. Does this mean that these Zodiac avenging spirits were driven here by you? Zhang Ming glanced at Yi Shiwen and asked. That's right. These are my spoils of war. Now that they have fallen into your hands, this isn't very good. It's not that easy to take advantage of me. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes, and a killing intention flashed in his eyes. Ha! You still dare to say that? You've humiliated the Divine Union quite a bit. As the saying goes, there's a path to heaven, but you refuse to take it. Instead, you barge into the gates of hell. I think the heavens really want you dead. You have nowhere to run. Zhang Ming looked at Yi Shiwen and said, I heard that you have pseudo-Dao runes and some strange tools. But it doesn't matter. These things will become my spoils of war. Ah! Zhang Ming said crazily. His expression was a little crazy, as if he had entered an extremely excited state. You can survive a natural disaster, but you can't survive a self-inflicted one. Yi Shiwen looked at Zhang Ming, who had fallen into a somewhat deranged state, and couldn't help but sigh. Humph, it's not certain who's the one who has done this. Zhang Ming coldly stared at Yi Shiwen. What's wrong? Isn't the old man of the Tian nunnery with you? This time, it won't be so easy to deal with me. Yi Shiwen continued. There's no need for that. I alone am enough to deal with you. Zhang Ming said with a sullen face. He stood with his hands behind his back. At the moment, an incomparably huge axe was floating behind him, constantly emitting a powerful force. Yi Shiwen could also sense how powerful Zhang Ming was. This wasn't an easy opponent to deal with. It could even be considered a very frightening existence. This was completely different from the headless horseman that Yi Shiwen had encountered in the past. Zhang Ming's entire body seemed to have fused with that incomparably huge axe, giving off a heart-palpitating aura. Even so, there wasn't the slightest change in his expression. In his life, he had experienced many storms and defeated many opponents. Many of them were even more tyrannical than him, and many of them had suffered many hardships and almost been defeated. His spirit had already been cultivated to the state of being as firm as a rock. Ordinary things would not be able to cause even the slightest ripple in his spirit. This person could only be one of the stepping stones that would be defeated by him. He didn't have any wishful thinking, nor could he avoid this battle. This was because the person before him was Zhang Ming of the Divine Union. Princess Tianqing had once mentioned that he was one of the youths with the most potential in the Divine Union. He was the leader of the younger generation. For the sake of the Divine Union and the wealth that he might have, Zhang Ming couldn't let him off. Both sides had no way out, but both sides were extremely confident. Is that so? Just you alone? Yi Shiwen said indifferently. That's enough. I know that you have some tricks up your sleeve. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to escape from a peak profound life realm expert. However, all of this is just a fleeting cloud in front of me. There isn't any transportation array nearby that can allow you to escape. Furthermore, if you dare to use spatial abilities in front of me, I will shatter the space and bury you in a different space. You can try and see if I can do it. Zhang Ming said confidently. He was extremely confident. The axe behind him contained an exceptionally frightening might that spread out. Even though they were still quite a distance apart, Yi Shiwen could still feel a wave of oppressive power sweeping over. There's no need. I believe that you can do it. Yi Shiwen didn't deny it. After all, if he could do it, there was no reason why Zhang Ming couldn't. However, are you so sure that I need to escape? He looked at Zhang Ming playfully and said with a faint smile, I know. You want to use a psychological attack to create a psychological suggestion that I'm very weak. Then, you'll make me collapse without a fight. However, it's obvious that you're wrong. I don't have any intention of escaping. Your inferior psychological suggestion definitely won't be able to sway me. He was slightly startled and immediately deduced all of Zhang Ming's objectives. For him, this was not a difficult task. This Zhang Ming before him was indeed an extremely powerful expert. Just by raising his hand, he was actually able to unleash a psychological attack. Even if it was unintentional, it was even more terrifying. That was because such an opponent was definitely someone who had experienced hundreds of battles. Oh, you actually don't want to escape? That's interesting. However, do you think that you can deceive me with such trickery? Zhang Ming, who had seen through Yi Shiwen's objective with a single glance, couldn't help but sneer disdainfully. You want me to have some misgivings and think that you have the strength to contend with me? Do you want me to think that I won't dare attack you and let you leave unhurriedly? I have to say that you have your own way of thinking. However, you're still far from being able to deceive me. As I said just now, you're too confident. Do you really believe that I really need to use such a petty trick to survive? Yi Shiwen sneered. I don't think you'll let me off today. I also want to see what kind of treasure you have on you to be valued and nurtured by the Divine Union. Interesting. However, no matter how interesting it is, you'll still have to die. All your wealth and techniques will fall into my hands." Zhang Ming laughed maniacally. The battle axe behind him suddenly started to spin. The entire world seemed to be split apart, as if everything was about to collapse. Countless axe lights started to churn, and all of them landed on his body, making him look like he was wearing an iron suit. It was as if he was an invincible warrior who had just returned to the battlefield. "You're still far from being able to match up to me. Today, I'll let you see the true difference between the late profound life stage and the intermediate profound life stage." The terrifying strength of the late profound life stage instantly swept out. Princess Tianqing's expression changed all of a sudden. When she had first seen Zhang Ming, he had only been at the intermediate profound life stage. However, after a short period of not seeing him, Zhang Ming had actually improved once again and entered the late profound life stage. This kind of speed was really frightening. Perhaps only that man could truly deal with him. Although Zhang Ming had released his aura, she wasn't affected in the slightest. This was because the green-robed man before her had used his not-so-broad shoulders to block the endless axe lights for her. At this moment, she deeply felt how weak she was. A king-grade expert couldn't be considered weak no matter what. However, she could only be considered weak in front of these two men. In fact, she was extremely weak. "Yi Shiwen, be careful. There's something strange about this Zhang Ming." She couldn't help but remind him. That battle axe of his seems to have come from an ancient expert in a box on an ancient battlefield. It's extremely tyrannical. Even if it's an expert of the same realm, he could be instantly chopped into powder by his axe light. "You actually know my origin. That's a little interesting," Zhang Ming said with a strange smile. It seemed that he was a little surprised that Princess Tianqing actually knew the origin of his battle axe. "It seems that you actually have the bloodline of the Azura clan. It just so happens that I'm still lacking a maid to warm the room. I've decided on you. Obediently become my maid." He laughed heartily. Then his entire body leapt into the void. His hands suddenly moved, and an incomparably huge axe appeared in his hands. Suddenly, an incomparably violent distortion occurred in the space. Then the entire axe instantly swung. It seemed as if it was going to chop the entire horizon into pieces as it directly fell with a loud rumble. The sky was instantly torn apart. An astonishing white light flickered as it ruthlessly fell down. Chapter 1844. In an instant, this axe light seemed to have transformed into a shocking waterfall in the sky. It directly swept out and instantly chopped down towards Yi Shiwen. If he was struck by it, even an expert at the late profound life stage would be severely injured in an instant. I've said it before. Today, you will die without a doubt. Only your fresh blood can wash away the shame of the battle union. As for you, Princess Tianqing, as the price for offending the divine union, you will become my servant." Zhang Ming's arrogant voice reverberated in the void. It was filled with intense confidence. Princess Tianqing's face turned pale as she faced this frightening axe light. She felt as though her entire body had been frozen in place. She was trembling and unable to move. This was because she had been intimidated by Zhang Ming's aura. Regardless of how many secrets she had, she felt like a small boat floating on a vast ocean when she faced Zhang Ming, who was several cultivation realms higher than her. Today, she would have to face the attacks of the raging waves. "Don't panic. I'm here. If he wants to hurt you, he'll have to do it over my dead body." Yi Shiwen couldn't help but console her. His hands suddenly shot out like cannonballs. His feet stomped on the ground, and a large part of the sky was shattered by this violent stomp. Then, an endless amount of golden light spurted out from his body and turned into a huge sharp sword that collided fiercely with the axe. Boom! An incomparably violent collision sound was heard. The entire sky was turned into nothingness in an instant. It seemed as though everything had returned to primal chaos in an instant. The earth, fire, water, and wind had all leaked out. It seemed as though the sky and earth had been split apart and all the rules had been reforged. An endless energy tide swept over from a short distance away. However, it didn't hurt her in the slightest. Just as the green-robed man had said, as long as she still had a breath left in her body, She wouldn't let anyone hurt her. This was something she had never encountered before. No one had ever been able to provide her with such protection, not even her father. She once thought that such a thing would never happen in her lifetime. Who knew that it would still happen like this? She couldn't help but feel a bit complicated. The power within Yi Shiwen's body was completely released in an instant. The power that belonged to the late stage of the profound life realm was completely released. The enlightening mind ancient tree had completely fixed Yi Shiwen's mind, causing him to become even more callous and ruthless. At the same time, it was able to unleash his battle strength to the greatest extent. He was just like an indifferent battle robot. The endless golden figures in his body formed endless golden dragons that soared up and down, protecting him from both sides. Then, he sent the golden dragons flying toward Zhanming. It was as if these golden dragons wanted to kill Zhanming. Yi Shiwen had been at a complete disadvantage a moment ago, but now, he had suddenly gained the upper hand and had taken the initiative. Interesting. You've actually stepped into the advanced, profound life stage. This is a little different from what the information said. However, it doesn't matter. Do you think that you'll be my match just because you've stepped into the advanced, profound life stage? Today, I'll let you see that even though we're in the same realm, the gap between us is like the difference between heaven and earth. The battle axe on Zhanming's body automatically flew up. Then, thousands of axe lights shot out in all directions. Then, the golden dragons exploded in the air. Boundless deathly aura and baleful aura collided with each other. Like spiritual energy, they surged out and turned into shocking waves. Each wave was 1,000 meters tall. Even though the places that were swept by the waves weren't as damaged as the center of the battlefield, which would take countless years to heal, the entire space was already showing signs of cracking. If this continued, it would slowly become useless. Such powerful power. Is this the power of the late stage of the profound life stage? No. Even the late-stage profound life consecrators in Father's imperial palace don't have such terrifying power. Are these two monsters? Even though Princess Tianqing had already acknowledged them in her heart, she still couldn't stop her shocked emotions from exploding. This was simply inconceivable. It had surpassed her original understanding of things. Profound realm, this is the power of the profound realm. I also want to step into the profound realm. Moreover, I want to directly step into the late stage of the profound life stage. Otherwise, I won't be able to do anything when facing these geniuses. At this moment, countless thoughts flashed through Princess Tianqing's mind. As an ambitious princess of the country of darkness, her ambition was far greater than ordinary people could imagine. At this moment, Zhanming's expression suddenly changed and became even more serious. He originally thought that Yi Shiwen was only in the middle stage of the profound life stage. Even if such an enemy could escape from the old man of the heavenly nunnery, it was absolutely impossible for him to escape from his hands. That was because there was no transportation array nearby that could allow him to escape. However, he still had strong confidence in himself. Although Yi Shiwen was tyrannical, it was absolutely impossible for Zhanming to be his opponent. He could feel a slight numbness in his hands. His mind had analyzed countless situations in an instant. This Yi Shiwen didn't just have a tyrannical body. He also had extraordinary strength. He was just like a monster. He couldn't believe it. Was he just a human with an ordinary physique? However, this kind of numbness was nothing to him. He circulated his internal power slightly, and his body was already completely healed. He only slightly refined the few zodiac vengeful spirits that he had absorbed into his body. Suddenly, he felt a tyrannical aura surging out from his body. It instantly turned into a powerful energy, and after tempering his body, it made him even more tyrannical. Although he looked refined, his tyrannical body was not bad. It was even more solid than many experts in the peak of the profound life realm. Die! Splithua Mountain! He let out an incomparably loud roar. Then, the giant axe in his hand began to move and instantly slashed down. The axe light tore apart the space. Endless power condensed on the giant axe. Many axe lights were directly transformed into laws and runes, which were faintly discernible on the entire giant axe. Break! Yi Shiwen was not to be outdone. He let out a loud roar, and the long sword in his hand suddenly erupted with terrifying power. In an instant, it fiercely blasted towards the giant axe. At this moment, the long sword in Yi Shiwen's hand that was condensed by his body seemed to be a little unstable. It actually began to shatter inch by inch. Although it was formed by divinity, it was after all not comparable to such a terrifying divine weapon. Crack! 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 In an instant, the golden long sword in his hand directly shattered. Swoosh! The axe actually blasted down with irresistible force. It broke through the vast sky and directly launched an attack from nothingness. It fiercely slashed towards Yi Shiwen's head. Bang! An incomparably loud roar was heard. Then, the axe in his hand directly slashed through Yi Shiwen's body, and in an instant, he was split into two groups of golden light. A somewhat sinister and proud smile appeared on Zhang Ming's face. Yi Shiwen was indeed very strong. Among the experts that he had encountered in the past, he could be considered as a very tyrannical expert. But so what? Wasn't such a tyrannical expert still dead after encountering him? Oh no! How could Yi Shiwen be killed? Princess Tianqing was almost petrified. The endless wind turned into astral winds that raged on her body, causing her clothes and hair to flutter wildly. It hurts! It hurts! But at this time, she couldn't care so much anymore. She was completely shocked as she looked at Yi Shiwen, who was cut in half. She couldn't believe it. Yi Shiwen was so powerful just a moment ago. How could he be killed by Zhang Ming in one move? This was simply unbelievable. Damn it! At this time, she almost instinctively attacked. She directly blasted out the 6 paths of reincarnation millstone of the Azura clan and blasted it toward Zhang Ming. It's just a small trick. Although it's a powerful martial art of the Azura clan, it's useless. Your strength is still too far away. Zhang Ming laughed proudly and directly crushed the reincarnation millstone into pieces with one hand. She was simply no match for him. At this time, Princess Tianqing's face was deathly pale. Her delicate body was trembling slightly. There was a murderous look in her eyes. She had already been forced to this extent. How could she still remain silent and not attack? I'm going all out. You force me. In her body, a powerful force was brewing crazily. At this time, the 2 golden lights suddenly merged into one and revealed Yi Shiwen's figure. She suddenly relaxed as if she had found her backbone. For someone like her who was determined to ascend to the top, this was an unprecedented situation. Perhaps this was not too bad. She did not know why, but her eyes were a little moist. Do you think you can hurt me with such an attack? What a joke! Yi Shiwen's ice-cold voice came out directly, shattering the aftermath of the qi explosion that was flying over. What's going on? Zhang Ming was instantly shocked. He clearly felt that he had already slashed Yi Shiwen. How could Yi Shiwen still be alive? This was simply illogical. Countless thoughts flashed in his mind. However, his movements were not slow at all as he retreated frantically. At the same time, the place where he was just standing was directly crushed into powder by a huge golden hand. Chapter 1845. He could not help but feel some lingering fear. Yi Shiwen's counterattack was too fast. It was almost an instant, and he had already counterattacked like lightning. If he had not dodged just now, it was very likely that he would have been struck by Yi Shiwen on the spot. And at this moment, above Yi Shiwen's head, a huge scroll was constantly shrinking and expanding. It was the yin-yang life and death diagram. The endless axe light and energy that had been unleashed were all absorbed by the yin-yang life and death diagram. Just now, he was just putting on a show. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to be easily killed by experts of the same level as him in the profound life realm. Even if an expert at the peak of the profound life realm came personally, he was confident that he could escape unscathed. He was just waiting for an opportunity to counterattack and wanted to take him down in one fell swoop. Who knew that Zhang Ming was worthy of being a battle-hardened expert? He had already sensed that something was wrong in an instant and immediately reacted, causing his plan to fail. I'll let you see my strongest state now." After Yi Shiwen let out a cold snort, both of his palms directly flew up and down in the air, forming countless seals. The yin-yang life and death diagram above his head directly boiled up, and the power of death within it directly swept up, absorbing the endless deathly aura. It was like rivers flowing into the sea and was forcefully absorbed. Then, the deathly aura was directly blasted out like an energy shock wave, and then directly swept in front of Zhanming. All of this happened too quickly. Even until now, Princess Tianqing had truly reacted. Not only was Yi Shiwen not dead, but he had also launched a new attack, which was extremely terrifying, directly using the yin-yang life and death diagram to attack. This was not the first time that she had seen this instrument, but at this moment, it seemed that she had just discovered its power. How intelligent was she? She instantly judged all of this from all of this. This instrument must be related to yin-yang life and death. Could it be? Yes, it's the yin-yang life and death diagram. Most of it is in the hands of the Abyss Demon Lord, and there is still a small part in his hands. I didn't expect that he could actually refine it to this extent, and has already reached the stage where yin and yang are in balance. How amazing! She recalled that when she had looked up Yi Shiwen's information, there was a record of Yi Shiwen obtaining a fragment of the yin-yang life and death diagram. Although the strength of the yin-yang life and death diagram couldn't be compared to the strength of the complete state, it could still be said to be quite terrifying. What's more frightening is that the yin-yang life and death chi in the yin-yang life and death diagram usually needs to be converted from spiritual chi. Therefore, the efficiency isn't that high. Therefore, it can't be used continuously. However, it's different now. In such an environment, it's equivalent to his natural home field. The endless death chi is his best helper. He doesn't even need to convert spiritual chi or real essence into death chi and can directly use it. In this way, he's simply invincible. No wonder he's so confident in himself. Even if he meets the old man of the heavens nunnery again, he won't be afraid. With the yin-yang life and death diagram in hand, unless it's an expert at the profound death realm who is much stronger than him. Even an expert at the peak of the profound life realm can't do anything to him. Her thoughts turned over in her mind, and she quickly calculated the ins and outs of some things. These things weren't difficult for her, but it was precisely because she had calculated it that she was even more shocked. This Yi Shiwen was really amazing. Swoosh! A deathly aura fiercely fell on Zhanming's body. Although it was dissolved by the axe light in his hand, the huge force still forced him to take a few steps back. At this time, Yi Shiwen's attack directly bombarded him without waiting for him to catch his breath. Another wave of death chi. For ordinary people, the most taboo thing was to come into contact with this kind of death chi. Once they came into contact with it, they would not be far from death. Even martial artists were no exception. It was just that the more powerful martial artists could withstand the greater and more sinister death chi. But in essence, there wasn't any difference. Zhanming relied on the axe to constantly break the death chi. Therefore, he could ignore the ordinary death chi. However, he was still very afraid of this death chi. Once this death chi was used by Yi Shiwen and turned into a means of attack, it would simply be a disaster for him. Bang! Another violent collision sounded, and he was blasted a few steps back. Swoosh! 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 In the sky, countless death chi directly swept over. It was densely packed like a sky net. It wrapped around Zhanming and completely obliterated him. On the other side, Yi Shiwen was constantly brushing out death chi. Although he consumed real elemental energy to control the yin-yang life and death diagram, he didn't even need to deliberately absorb the death chi in this situation where the death chi was everywhere. This was really his natural home field. Bang! 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 No matter how Zhanming tried to dodge, he was always brushed by the death chi. Not all of the death chi could be dissolved by his axe light. With so many dense death chi brushing over, his axe light was completely out of control. And when these death chi brushed over his body, it directly penetrated into his 5 viscera and 6 bowels, causing his internal organs to begin to rot, directly injuring him. Such an attack method was simply unheard of. It was simply impossible to defend against. He could only continue to escape in a sorry state. He constantly forced out the death chi in his body, and his face became increasingly pale. He constantly roared and looked at Yi Shiwen with some horror in his eyes. However, he was also a little unconvinced. What was there to be proud of just relying on a powerful martial instrument? Go to hell. I don't believe that you can survive. In the beginning, he didn't care about the deathly aura at all. Instead of being tortured to death by Yi Shiwen, it was better to attack directly. As long as he killed Yi Shiwen, then all the attacks would stop. Moreover, he could also obtain a divine tool that could travel in the dead soul abyss. It was extremely important for him to inherit the inheritance of the dead soul lord. He began to blast towards Yi Shiwen fiercely. Swoosh! 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 In the sky, the axe light directly split the sky and turned into a shock wave that blasted towards Yi Shiwen. The axe light that was slashed out by this big axe was extremely terrifying. Even Yi Shiwen couldn't ignore it. As expected, the frequency of Yi Shiwen's death chi gradually decreased. For him, his days were getting better. You're just relying on the sharpness of your martial instrument. As long as I kill you, then there's nothing to worry about. Zhang Ming closed in on Yi Shiwen step by step. Swoosh! His figure instantly disappeared, and the entire space was torn apart. In the next moment, he had already appeared beside Yi Shiwen. The axe in his hand instantly slashed down. The blue veins on his hands bulged as he used all his strength. This time he wanted to kill Yi Shiwen. Only then would he be able to endure this long battle. At this moment, the divinity that burst out of Yi Shiwen's body was instantly slashed by this axe light. Just when it was about to slash Yi Shiwen's body, Yi Shiwen directly turned into a ball of golden light and disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already behind Zhang Ming. Behind him, the pair of wind and thunder wings were very obvious. The endless power of wind and thunder directly spread out and began to fight with the power of death on the spot. The battle between the two sides was too intense. In the blink of an eye, the offense and defense were exchanged. It was so fast that it dazzled the eyes. At this time, Princess Tianqing could only rely on a special method to clearly see the battle in the void. She could also see that Zhang Ming was also a difficult opponent for Yi Shiwen. He was not as easily defeated as the Headless Knight. In fact, he was not even like the 12 Zodiac Resentment Spirits who were at the peak of the Profound Life realm, but were completely suppressed by Yi Shiwen. In the end, they were chased by Yi Shiwen like stray dogs. Yi Shiwen's figure shuttled back and forth in the void, like an immortal god of war. He then launched an attack toward Zhang Ming once again. The golden sword in his hand once again tore open the vast sky and fiercely pounced toward Zhang Ming. At this moment, when Zhang Ming saw that Yi Shiwen's attack was directly blasting towards him, he immediately gritted his teeth and ruthlessly pounced towards Princess Tianqing. Even if I die today, I will drag this girl with me. If you leave with this girl, the relationship between the two of you must not be ordinary. I'll let you have a taste of what it feels like to lose something. He suddenly stepped out of the void and instantly appeared in front of Princess Tianqing. He directly opened his back, as if he did not care about Yi Shiwen and was determined to kill Princess Tianqing. In the face of a terrifying existence at the late stage of the Profound Life realm, even an expert of the king rank like Princess Tianqing might not be able to withstand a single finger from him. Behind Zhang Ming, Yi Shiwen's eyes flashed with some hesitation. If he did not care about Princess Tianqing, then she would definitely die. However, he could also directly kill Zhang Ming, which was the best outcome. On the contrary, if he wanted to save Zhang Ming, he might have to delay for a while. The hesitation in his eyes only lasted for a moment. His eyes suddenly became firm, and he directly flew towards Princess Tianqing. Stay your hand! With a loud roar, he conjured a giant golden hand and protected Princess Tianqing on the spot. The attack that he expected did not come. Not good! He suddenly reacted and looked over. Sure enough, Zhang Ming did not intend to kill Princess Tianqing at all. He simply wanted to make a feint. At this moment, he had actually already fled thousands of miles away. Chapter 1846. Zhang Ming's speed was extremely fast. In the void, his movement technique was pushed to the extreme. He didn't dare to stop for even a moment. He didn't have the intention to perish together with Princess Tianqing. In his mind, he was a noble person. Who was Princess Tianqing to him? Why would she perish together with him? By the time Yi Shiwen reacted, it was already too late to catch up. I still let him escape. Yi Shiwen sighed and said, in a confrontation between experts, it was all about that moment of mistake and flaw. Zhang Ming's movement technique was also extremely brilliant. Although it wasn't comparable to Yi Shiwen's full speed, he was already desperate at this moment. He burned his lifespan to increase his speed by a notch. In addition, he had gained the upper hand. Therefore, even with Yi Shiwen's speed, he still couldn't catch up. At this time, Princess Tianqing escaped with her life. She was still in shock. Even with her many years of experience, she rarely put herself in such a dangerous situation. As a profound life realm late-stage expert, it was too easy for Zhang Ming to strangle her to death. It was just a matter of turning his hand. If Yi Shiwen hesitated just now, or chose to kill Zhang Ming first, then the result was likely to be her death. Countless years of cultivation would have turned into water. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel a little scared. She didn't even feel this way when she faced the old man of the heavenly nunnery. Although the old man of the heavenly nunnery was rude and unreasonable, he wouldn't kill her for the sake of the Dark Nation. A bit of hatred flashed in her eyes. I almost died. I actually almost died. However, the hatred on her face disappeared without a trace in an instant. She looked at Yi Shiwen and said, no matter what, I was the one who caused you to let him go. At this moment, she was slightly touched. She had more than half of the demon race's bloodline. Her style of doing things was decisive, and she had the demeanor of the demon race. Most of the people she came into contact with were vicious and merciless people. At this time, Yi Shiwen was willing to let go of Zhang Ming and chose to save her. She couldn't help but be moved by this. After all, this man was somewhat different from the others. Although he was ruthless and merciless, he wasn't a heartless person. She had found the right person to cooperate with. She knew that if it was someone else in the situation just now, they would probably choose to ignore her and choose to kill Zhang Ming. After all, an opponent like Zhang Ming was a big trouble for anyone. Yi Shiwen's choice was particularly rare. It's nothing. He's just a loser. I'll kill him again if I see him again. Yi Shiwen stood with his hands behind his back. You must remember not to look down on him. When she thought of how Yi Shiwen had let Zhang Ming go in order to save her, she could not help but say a few more words. Zhang Ming is a peerless genius of the Divine Union. He is nurtured by the Divine Union and is a strong candidate to prove his Tao in the future. Even the Battle Union's plan to fight for the inheritance of the undead Spirit Lord is completely built around him. After he escapes this time, I'm afraid it won't be long before he recovers. Moreover, he has devoured so many vengeful spirits at the peak of the profound life stage. I'm afraid it won't be long before he advances to the peak of the profound life stage. It's fine. Once I completely refine these vengeful spirits, I will be able to completely step into the peak of the profound life stage. At that time, I won't have to fear any peak profound life stage experts. Yi Shiwen said with a smile. His nonchalant appearance made Princess Tianqing rather angry. She had clearly warned him out of goodwill, but the other party did not care at all. It was rare for her to reveal the appearance of a little girl. However, it made Yi Shiwen feel very young. Princess Tianqing wasn't as aggressive and imposing as Princess Hiyu. However, Yi Shiwen could tell that she was an ambitious woman after interacting with her. So, it was rare for her to have such an appearance. However, he had a new idea in his heart. Princess Tianqing was right. No matter what, Zhang Ming was a talent that the Battle Union had focused on nurturing. It wouldn't be long before he stepped into the peak of the profound life stage. If he could not step into the peak of the profound life stage before that, the chances of Zhang Ming finding him would not be small. Moreover, The experts at the peak of the profound life stage had already gone to search for the inheritance of the undead spirit lord. If he wanted to snatch the inheritance of the undead spirit lord from those experts, he would have to step into the peak of the profound life stage. Without stepping into the peak of the profound life stage, even someone as arrogant as him knew that he would definitely not be a match for an expert at the peak of the profound life stage. At most, he could only protect himself. Let's not talk about that for now. Isn't our main objective now to help you retrieve the country of darkness's guardian artifact? Said Yi Shiwen. I've already said that I can forego the guardian artifact. What I want is something else, said Princess Tianqing as she glanced at Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen pondered for a moment. No matter what, this wasn't too bad for him. Thinking of this, he did not stay any longer. He directly grabbed Princess Tianqing's slender waist and instantly tore apart space. After that, his entire body disappeared. When he reappeared, he had already appeared in an underground cave. Everywhere he looked, there was a surging, deathly aura, which was also emitting an extremely dangerous aura. However, behind this dangerous aura, there was a surging divine radiance that pierced through the air. There were precious treasures within. Yi Shiwen, you have to be careful. This is one of the treasures left behind by the Lord of Darkness. It can be said that there are countless traps and ferocious beasts inside. There are even many prehistoric monsters that have existed since ancient times. They are far more powerful than the experts at the late stage of the profound life stage, or even the peak of the profound life stage, warned Princess Tianqing. She looked at the surrounding environment with a bit of fear. Yi Shiwen took a deep breath and said, wealth comes from danger. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Moreover, if the founding ancestor of your country of darkness hadn't risked his life and obtained the guardian artifact, there would be no room for your country of darkness to gain a foothold. All right, but no matter what, you still have to be careful, said Princess Tianqing after a pause. Obviously, she somewhat agreed with Yi Shiwen's words, but not completely. Roar! 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 The entire underground was like an underground labyrinth. It was incomparably huge and complicated. It was unknown what material was used to create it. Even with the power of Yi Shiwen's divine sense, there was no way to expand it beyond 100 miles. However, even if it was only 100 miles, it was enough. In that instant, the power of wind and thunder on his body instantly expanded, forming a huge domain. In an instant, the entire underground labyrinth was completely illuminated. Yi Shiwen's eyes were like torches, illuminating thousands of miles. In an instant, he saw that in the depths of the labyrinth, there was a continuous stream of chilling wind coming from the endless labyrinth. There was also a lot of dark power and deathly power wrapped in the chilling wind. In the depths of the labyrinth, there were some huge shadows appearing. There were some very terrifying dead spirit beasts. In this instant, Yi Shiwen clearly saw them. In addition to these dead spirit beasts, Yi Shiwen also took this opportunity to check some of the heavenly treasures in the depths of this underground labyrinth. As expected, although the design of this underground labyrinth was extremely complicated, it was a treasure trove through and through. There was even a dragon vein lying horizontally in it. It was locked firmly on the ground, and it kept struggling to escape, but to no avail. At this time, Princess Tianqing also saw it, and her face suddenly showed a somewhat ecstatic expression. Dragon vein, it's actually a dragon vein. Even the entire Dark Nation only has dragon veins suppressed by the two super cities of Tokyo and Shijing. May the dragon veins bless the prosperity of our Dark Nation. Princess Tianqing immediately became excited. She didn't even care about her image. For the Dark Country, a dragon's vein was also very rare and important. A dragon's vein couldn't be exchanged for a profound core, but it didn't mean that the value of a dragon's vein was only that little. For any force, if they wanted to develop for a long time, they must have a dragon's vein to support them. Zhang Ming has actually escaped into this place first. Yi Shiwen clearly sensed Zhang Ming's aura in the air. If he fled in a panic, he wouldn't be able to escape. That's just right. I'll take advantage of this opportunity to kill him before he develops. Yi Shiwen had a somewhat ruthless expression on his face. Just as Yi Shiwen had sensed, Zhang Ming had escaped into this underground labyrinth and met up with the people of the Divine Union. Senior Brother Zhan is back. Senior Brother Zhan is back. This was a very huge battle fortress with countless war machines condensed on its body. It possessed extremely terrifying might, and wherever it passed, all the dead spirit beasts would be swept to death. Besides some Divine Union experts, there were also many Divine Union disciples controlling this war machine. Countless demons were swept to death and captured into the battle fortress to become nourishment for it. Zhang Ming's status in the Divine Union was very high. As soon as he returned, he immediately attracted the attention of many Divine Union experts. Even if he didn't want to spread the news with his fame, he still quickly attracted the attention of many experts, startling countless people. What made them even more shocked was that Zhang Ming was actually in a rather sorry state, clutching his chest as he fled. Immediately, the joyful expressions on many people's faces froze. Chapter 1847. No one had imagined that when they saw Zhang Ming again, it would actually be such a scene. In their hearts, Zhang Ming was an invincible existence, just like a god of war. Many members of the younger generation of the Divine Union practically viewed Zhang Ming as a god. Compared to the elusive leader of the Divine Union, Zhang Ming was undoubtedly closer to them. Senior Brother Zhan, what's wrong? Senior Brother Zhan has actually been injured. How is this possible? Even peak profound life stage experts would find it difficult to injure him. Could he have encountered a profound death stage ferocious creature? That must be the case. That's right. Unless it was a profound death stage ferocious creature, given Senior Brother Zhan's strength, how could he have been injured? Many disciples of the Fighting Union said in disbelief. Although the history of the Fighting Union was a little worse than the other giants, it was still one of the giants without a doubt. Zhang Ming was one of the most outstanding disciples of the Fighting Union. Many of them had never seen Zhang Ming injured before. That's right. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked over from afar. Upon seeing Zhang Ming, his face revealed some shock as he said, "Zhang Ming, you've actually stepped into the late profound life stage. How long has it been since you entered the mid-profound life stage?" Many people were instantly frightened by these words. At this moment, they slightly took note of Zhang Ming's strength. Indeed, he had already stepped into the late profound life stage. The aura on his body was incomparably powerful even when he was injured, causing people to tremble in fear. What's so strange about that? Zhang Ming glanced at the middle-aged man and saw some fear in his eyes. This middle-aged man had always been at odds with him. He had relied on the fact that he was older than Zhang Ming and had cultivated for a longer period of time to find trouble with Zhang Ming. Therefore, if there was a list of people who were most afraid of Zhang Ming stepping into the late profound life stage, this middle-aged man would definitely be at the top. Just like the other colossal organizations, the Divine Union was also divided into many factions of various sizes. Among them, there were countless open and secret fights. However, he had never imagined that no matter how worried he was, Zhang Ming would still step into the late profound life stage in the end. Zhang Ming was able to stand on equal footing with him. In fact, Zhang Ming was not even worthy of being mentioned in the same breath as him. In the past, before he had stepped into the profound life stage, he had already fought against him, let alone now. Even if he was seriously injured by Yi Shiwen, he still didn't have the slightest fear in the face of this middle-aged man's threat. As expected, the middle-aged man was somewhat fearful. A fierce glint flashed across his eyes. However, after considering this place, he forcefully suppressed the killing intent in his heart. "You still dare to have killing intent towards me. You really don't know what's good for you. If it wasn't for the fact that I still need to use you in the future, I would have killed you with a single palm strike." Zhang Ming clutched his chest. He had seen through the middle-aged man's thoughts almost instantly. His eyes were also filled with killing intent. What's there to be surprised about? I had a fortuitous encounter this time. I've already completely refined it. Stepping into the late profound life stage is nothing. It won't be long before I step into the peak profound life stage. At that time, even those elders will have to treat me with respect and be on equal footing. Zhang Ming spoke without a care. He was not afraid of revealing this level of information. What? The middle-aged man's face immediately turned deathly pale. To him, Zhang Ming was like a fishbone that had been choked. At this time, not only was he not dead, but he was also about to step into the peak profound life stage. This was simply hopeless for him. In fact, he might even be killed by Zhang Ming. Zhang Ming, you've obtained a fortuitous encounter this time. This can be considered a joyous occasion. However, how did you get injured? Another skinny, middle-aged man appeared in the void. A protective barrier automatically sprang up around his body, blocking the darkness energy and the baleful aura from underground. It was actually another frightening late profound life stage expert. Moreover, he was likely only half a step away from the peak profound life stage. He was an invincible expert within this stage. In the face of this skinny middle-aged man, even Zhang Ming's expression became somewhat relaxed. This was a frightening existence. Even the current Zhang Ming did not have absolute confidence in defeating him. I've suffered some losses this time, said Zhang Ming. Who was it that actually caused you to suffer losses? Asked the middle-aged man. He glanced at the skinny man beside him with an expression of disbelief. Zhang Ming was extremely powerful. Even before stepping into the profound life stage, Zhang Ming had dared to challenge him. Although he did not say it out loud, he acknowledged Zhang Ming's strength in his heart. In fact, he even felt that there was no one in the younger generation who could match up to him. Yet there was actually someone who could injure him. This was simply an impossible miracle. You should be able to easily escape, even if it's a peak profound life stage expert. Could it be that you've encountered disciples from the other great sects? Asked the skinny man as he looked at Zhang Ming. There was some doubt in his eyes. Could this really be the case? No, it's Yi Shiwen. Zhang Ming said, that's impossible. The elder of the heavenly nunnery has already severely injured him. Although he managed to escape, he will still need some time to recover. Furthermore, according to the elder of the heavenly nunnery, he is clearly only at the intermediate profound life stage. There is simply no need to worry about him. How could you suffer losses at his hands? Could it be that you fell into some sort of trap? The skinny man's eyes widened in disbelief. He was very familiar with Yi Shiwen's name. It could even be said that he was extremely familiar with it. It was this person who had caused the divine union to suffer ridicule and disdain from everyone in the past few months. This was simply a great humiliation for the proud and arrogant divine union. Ever since the divine union had been established, not many people had dared to infuriate the divine union like this. However, Yi Shiwen had done it. Furthermore, he had succeeded and left them helpless. However, he knew very well how many coincidences were involved. His first reaction was to say that Yi Shiwen had actually caused Zhang Ming to suffer losses. However, when he looked at Zhang Ming, he realized that this was not a joke. Therefore, it could only be true. This was even more unbelievable than a joke. I wonder what kind of fortuitous encounter this guy had. His strength has skyrocketed so quickly that even I am no match for him. Zhang Ming's expression was slightly gloomy. He had always boasted that he was invincible in the world. However, he had suffered a big loss. Moreover, he had suffered a big loss at the hands of Yi Shiwen. This was simply unacceptable for him. The members of the Fighting League wanted to say that it was impossible. How could he improve so fast? However, when they looked at Zhang Ming, they didn't have anything to say. Zhang Ming's improvement speed was also very fast. It seems like we have underestimated him, the skinny man said. Even you are no match for him? It seems like we really have to ask the elder of the heavenly nunnery to personally take action in order to take him down. We will deal with him after we obtain the inheritance of the undead spirit lord. We can't let him walk out of the undead spirit abyss alive. A frightening look flashed through the skinny man's eyes. He was also a ruthless and decisive person. You are still underestimating him. If you really think so, I'm afraid it won't be long before all of you die in his hands. Zhang Ming glanced at the skinny man and said, although he is only at the late profound life realm, He has captured a batch of vengeful spirits at the peak profound life realm. I'm afraid it won't be long before he reaches the peak profound life realm. At that time, I'm afraid even the elder of the heavenly nunnery won't be his match, let alone all of you. Do you think we will all be annihilated? Impossible. How can anyone cultivate so quickly? This time, the skinny man was even more in disbelief. Previously, Yi Shiwen had merely advanced from the profound life stage to the profound life stage from the profound life stage middle stage. However, even if this was a blessing in disguise, it was impossible for him to advance to the profound life stage peak just like that. This was simply a miracle. Why is it impossible? I have also obtained a portion of the vengeful spirits at the peak profound life realm. When I refine all of them, I will be able to advance to the peak profound life realm. If I can do it, there's no reason why he can't do it, Zhang Ming said with a gloomy expression. Although he did not want to admit it, he still had to admit that Yi Shiwen's current strength was probably more tyrannical than his. After absorbing these vengeful spirits at the peak profound life realm, there was no reason why Yi Shiwen couldn't do it. He did not think too highly of Yi Shiwen, but he would definitely not underestimate him either. If Yi Shiwen was nothing, then wouldn't he, who had been defeated by Yi Shiwen, appear even more weak? What should we do? At this time, many people from the Divine Union suddenly began to panic. Although they were somewhat surprised, they did not care at all. The reason was also very simple. It was because they had a peak profound life realm expert overseeing them. Under the situation where profound death realm experts could not enter, they were basically the top combat power, unless they encountered a dead spirit or ferocious creature at the profound death realm. Otherwise, they would be able to sweep away everything. If Yi Shiwen encountered the old man of the heavenly nunnery again, only death would await him. When they heard that Yi Shiwen was also about to advance to the peak profound life realm, almost everyone was shocked and dumbfounded. There is only one way, and that is to kill him. Zhang Ming sighed and said, "We can only unite all our forces and kill this disaster. Otherwise, we will all be doomed." Chapter 1848. Zhang Ming, are you still no match for him, even though you have reached the peak of the profound life realm? The skinny man asked again. I'm not too sure about that either. Zhang Ming frowned and said, I never do things that I'm not sure about. Anyway, we have to be careful. From the information we receive, he should be here to help Princess Tianqing find the Dark Nation's divine weapon. His goal is the same as ours. It's very likely that an intense conflict will break out between us. We won't be able to avoid it. This is nothing. We have the battle fortress. Even if we can't contend against him head-on, as long as we hide in the battle fortress, even a profound death realm expert won't be able to break through it in a short time. I don't believe that he's that strong, said the middle-aged man. He felt much more at ease when he thought of the battle fortress beneath his feet. This battle fortress was their strongest safeguard. That's right. That's right. As long as we are in the battle fortress, he can't do anything to us. That's right. We don't have to be afraid of him. They immediately felt as if they had regained their confidence at the thought of this. They hadn't realized that the Divine Union, which had always been arrogant and domineering, had actually been scared to this extent by Yi Shiwen. However, they had no choice but to believe it. Yi Shiwen had fought against the Divine Union 3 times. The first time, he had humiliated the Divine Union and turned them into a laughingstock for a few months. The second time, he had forcefully escaped from the elder of the heavenly nunnery, who was at the peak of the profound life realm. The third time, he had actually injured Zhang Ming. This was simply incredible. These battle achievements were more incredible than the previous one. They had no choice but to believe that this person might really have such an ability. They could only rely on the battle fortress to protect themselves. However, it doesn't matter. We are just competing to see who is faster. This time, we separated from the elder of the heavenly nunnery in order to seize the Dark Nation's divine weapon, right? As long as I obtain the country of darkness divine nation's divine artifact, even if he has advanced to the peak of the profound life stage, I'm 100% confident that I can kill him. Once I kill this disaster, There won't be any future troubles. Zhanming paused for a moment and said. Thinking of this, his expression began to recover a bit of his usual demeanor. Indeed, as long as he could obtain more of the country of darkness's guardian artifacts, even if they were incomplete, it would be enough for him. That's right. We need to hurry and find the nation of darkness divine artifact. If that's the case, even if he advances to the peak of the profound life stage, only death awaits him. At this moment, the members of the Divine Union, who had always been fighting openly and covertly, started to unite as one in the face of Yi Shiwen's threat. They were very clear that if they couldn't solve this problem, then they would probably be killed by Yi Shiwen. At that time, it would really be too late for regrets. Yes, that's right. Since he wants to compete for the country of darkness artifact, then we won't be the only ones in conflict with him. We can just divert the trouble to someone else, and let someone else deal with him. The skinny man couldn't help but say. Zhanming's expression changed. This person was saying that he couldn't deal with someone else. Wasn't this indirectly saying that he wasn't as good as those opponents? In the past, he had never been willing to admit this. However, in order to deal with Yi Shiwen now, he couldn't care less. Only after he had fought with Yi Shiwen did he realize how terrifying Yi Shiwen was. Therefore, he simply didn't pin his hopes on others. In essence, he still needed to be strong. I must get my hands on that darkness divine artifact. His eyes were incomparably firm as he said, I'll go in to heal my injuries and go into closed-door cultivation. During this period, nobody should go out. Just stay in the battle fortress and wait for me to come out. Also, search for the nation of darkness divine artifact. Don't let Yi Shiwen seize the opportunity to destroy us one by one. We understand. The members of the Divine Union nodded immediately. How could they not know what was good for them after seeing Zhanming's appearance? Zhanming was only seriously injured, but if they had been in his place, they would probably have died tragically. In the sky above the underground maze, Yi Shiwen's figure flickered continuously as he shuttled back and forth in the void. I actually sensed several tyrannical experts during this period of time. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes. It could be said that the traces and auras of the battles between the foreign masters and the local ferocious creatures could be found everywhere in this underground maze. Some places had been smashed and hadn't been restored until now. The remnant auras of these places were frightening. It seems that the people who want to seize the nation of darkness divine artifact are far more than what I expected. Yi Shiwen said, That's normal. Even if the nation of darkness divine artifact is incomplete, it is still a divine artifact after all. It must be extremely attractive to them. It would be strange if those big sects let it go. I'm not the only one who knows this. My royal brothers and father are also very clear about this. What is the nation of darkness reputation? How much is it worth to make those big sects let go of the nation of darkness divine artifact? Princess Tianqing finally revealed the truth. Yi Shiwen finally understood why Princess Tianqing gave up the nation of darkness divine artifact so readily. It turned out that there was such a reason behind it. The nation of darkness divine artifact could be obtained by anyone, but it was absolutely impossible for the nation of darkness to obtain it. You're really straightforward. No wonder you gave it to me so easily. Yi Shiwen said, It's nothing. As the saying goes, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. If our nation of darkness doesn't have enough strength, but still possesses such a precious artifact, then it would be no different from a child walking on the street with a gold nugget in his hand. It would simply be courting death. Princess Tianqing said, Since you all know this, then why did you choose to make this matter public? Yi Shiwen asked. This matter itself has spread far and wide. Even if we don't make it public, they still know about it. If they get it themselves, then they won't appreciate our kindness at all. But if we take the initiative to say it, then no matter who gets it, they will eventually appreciate our kindness. It can be said that it's free, so why not? Princess Tianqing glanced at Yi Shiwen and said. Yi Shiwen nodded. This was indeed the case. Even if he knew about Princess Tianqing's scheme, he would still appreciate her kindness. But didn't your monarch say that that whoever obtains this divine artifact will become the future monarch? Now that the divine artifact is in the hands of someone else, how can you get it? Yishuin asked again. What's so complicated about this? When the time comes, we just need to go back and let the person who gets the divine artifact take it out. Then, the party who gets the divine artifact will inevitably become the rightful heir. Our nation of darkness was established by relying on the divine artifact. At this time, if we get the divine artifact's recognition, then there's no need to say anything about its legitimacy. Age, virtuous or not, it's all floating clouds. It doesn't matter at all. Princess Tianqing said. Yi Shiwen had analyzed everything clearly and logically. If you get it in the end, then you have to support me. When that time comes, I will become the crown princess. In the future, ascending to the throne will be in the bag. Compared to this matter, nothing else is worth worrying about. Princess Tianqing said in a very straightforward manner. This is the matter that I asked you to help me with. I see. If that's the case, then I should be able to do it. Yi Shiwen nodded and said, But aren't you going to compete for the inheritance of the undead spirit lord? Yes, but this matter has nothing to do with you. When the time comes, we may still be competitors. Let's rely on our own abilities. Don't deny it. I can see that you definitely want to compete for the inheritance of the undead spirit lord. Princess Tianqing looked at Yi Shiwen as if she wanted to see through him. The corners of her mouth slightly raised in a somewhat mischievous manner. Since she had already seen through him, Yi Shiwen did not deny it. At least before this, they were still allies who could cooperate with each other. Moreover, he did not think that Princess Tianqing, who was only at the king rank, would cause any problems for him. Princess Tianqing smiled slyly and did not continue to speak. Instead, she asked, From the information that I received from my cousin, you came from the ancient demon realm, right? Yes. Yishuin nodded and said, In the distant past, the ancient demon realm was the ancient demon realm. Speaking of the ancient demon realm, it seems that it has been declining for a long time. Even the ancient country that they established has shrunk. Princess Tianqing said, You know about them? Yi Shiwen immediately became spirited. The fundamental purpose of his coming to the mysterious world this time was to find an opportunity to prove his Tao. However, there was another purpose, which was to find more masters who had gone to the mysterious world during the ancient demon realm in the past. If these masters could return, then the power of the human race would definitely increase greatly. It would be able to instantly reverse the current embarrassing situation of the human race in the ancient demon realm. The ancient demon realm was extremely glorious in the past. The demon emperor ruled the world, and there was no one who did not submit to him. The ancient country that they established in the past would more or less attract some attention. Princess Tianqing said, However, it is very far from here. You have to cross the entire mysterious world battlefield to reach the other side of the mysterious world. It is a long story, and now is not the time to talk about it. Wait until the matter of the undead spirit abyss is settled. Then I will tell you in detail about this matter. When the time comes, I might also have to go to the mysterious world battlefield. At that time, I might have to go with you. All right, Yi Shiwen said. Chapter 1849. The most important thing now is the treasure house left behind by the Dark Lord, Princess Tianqing said. However, according to our previous calculations, it will take a few days to open this treasure house. We can take this opportunity to harvest those dragon veins. As long as we obtain those dragon veins, the strength of our dark nation will also rise to a higher level. This will be your thank you gift to me. Yi Shiwen was silent for a moment and said, Half. You. Princess Tianqing couldn't help but say angrily, I just said that you are generous. How can you be so greedy in the blink of an eye? This is completely different. I am willing to go through fire and water for my friends. I will do what I say. However, it is not so easy to make me suffer losses. Yi Shiwen said leisurely. You. Princess Tianqing was speechless. Well, half it is. She couldn't help but feel some pain in her heart. How much would she lose if she divided the two halves in half? Originally, She thought that Yi Shiwen was a rich man who valued friendship and righteousness. But now she discovered that this was not the case at all. Although he was not too fussy about this, but if she really regarded him as a spendthrift who didn't care about anything, then it would be a big mistake. All right, let's go. At this time, Yi Shiwen didn't delay any further. He directly led Princess Tianqing to kill those dragon veins. These dragon veins were rare underground spiritual veins. It was a place where endless spiritual energy gathered. However, because of this environment, the spiritual energy had already been completely disturbed. It was mixed with endless evil energy and death energy. If an ordinary person were to absorb such spiritual energy, they would have already died. It was impossible for them to survive. Yi Shiwen didn't know what methods Princess Tianqing had to avoid this. However, he had his own methods. For him, whether it was spiritual energy, evil energy, or death energy, as long as it was energy, it could all be transformed into energy through Tianyuan mirror, an yin-yang life and death diagram, and directly poured into his body. Therefore, these dragon veins were also not a small amount of wealth for him. However, these dragon veins did not grow on the ground out of thin air. They had long been occupied by countless dead spirits and ferocious creatures. This underground labyrinth was a treasury left behind by the Lord of Darkness. There was a lot of death chi and dark chi in it. The baleful chi had already given birth to many dead spirits. At this time, many of them had already gained sentience and occupied these dragon veins. The weakest amongst them were at the mid-profound life stage. There were even some at the late profound life stage, and even some at the profound death stage. Yi Shiwen had already sensed these profound death stage experts and avoided them. Otherwise, with the strength of profound death stage experts, Yi Shiwen would only be sending himself to his death. It was impossible for him to be a match for them. Yi Shiwen would try his best to avoid even those experts at the peak of the profound life realm. After all, not all evil creatures at the peak of the profound life realm would be restrained by Yi Shiwen like the 12 zodiac vengeful spirits. In the end, they would be killed by him. Most of the evil creatures at the peak of the profound life realm were tyrannical and terrifying. Yi Shiwen could only protect himself. It was impossible for him to be a match for them. Therefore, he could only target the dragon veins occupied by evil creatures below the peak of the profound life realm. Although there were very few dragon veins occupied by evil creatures below the peak of the profound life realm, there were still some. Over the past few days, Yi Shiwen had actually killed 10 evil creatures below the peak of the profound life realm and obtained 10 dragon veins. He had given half of them to Princess Tianqing and still had 5 dragon veins left. It could be said that his harvest was quite bountiful. Don't forget that this was only the harvest of the past few days. With these dragon veins, Yi Shiwen had already begun to consider breaking through to the peak of the profound life realm. Only by breaking through to the peak of the profound life realm would he not have to worry about facing the experts of the various sections. However, if he encountered evil creatures at the profound death stage, he would still have to flee. It would be useless. In order to obtain a fundamental advantage in the fight for the country of Darkness's guardian artifact, he had decided to break through to the peak of the profound life realm first. He immediately brought Princess Tianqing and found a remote mountain range. Then he began to cultivate in seclusion. He operated the restraining aura technique and directly absorbed all of his aura into his body. Not a single trace of it leaked out. He was not planning to break through to the profound death stage. Therefore, he did not need to worry about the heavenly tribulation. He also did not need to worry about attracting any tyrannical opponents. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. During these 3 days, Princess Tianqing did not have any free time. On the contrary, Princess Tianqing found the undead and ferocious beasts and constantly honed her martial skills. To her, the profound life realm was only a paper away, and she was about to reach it very soon. An incomparably huge tribulation cloud formed in the void. A heavy pressure came crashing down. All the evil creatures within a radius of 1,000 miles had fled in a short period of time. To these evil creatures that were born from the extreme darkness, the heavenly tribulation was simply their nemesis. To them, it was no different from a situation of death. It could be said that they would definitely be injured if they were brushed by it, especially since this was the heavenly tribulation for breaking through to the profound life realm. At this moment, the heavenly tribulation swept down. It had already turned the area within 100 miles into a sea of lightning. The endless lightning seemed to have drowned everything. In the sea of lightning, there was a figure standing tall and straight in the endless sea of lightning. He was constantly evolving his cultivation technique. Her 5 fingers were clenched into a fist. Illusionary images of the 6 paths of reincarnation were constantly being shot out, shattering the void and suppressing everything. Everything in the world was within the 6 paths of reincarnation. It was the supreme demonic technique of the Azura clan. The demonic aura swept in all directions. Although the demonic aura was completely restrained by the righteous power of the heavenly tribulation, it was not absolute. In fact, when the demonic technique had reached a certain level, it could even restrain the heavenly tribulation. Moreover, she cultivated the orthodox, supreme, great path of the Azura clan. As a clan that had once produced a demon king, how could the essence of the martial arts left behind by them be simple? Although it was a demonic technique, it was a mighty, righteous martial art. This righteousness was not the righteousness of the righteous and evil, but the righteousness of the righteous path and the unorthodox path. This kind of martial art left behind by an Emperor realm figure could be called the most orthodox martial art of the Xiamen sect. Bang! 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 Under her 6 paths of reincarnation fist, the endless heavenly tribulation was smashed on the spot. However, these heavenly tribulations were not ordinary. Although they were smashed on the spot, her body was also blasted until her skin and flesh were torn. She looked rather miserable. However, her eyes were shining brightly, as if the heavenly tribulation couldn't affect her at all. He didn't know how long the heavenly tribulation lasted, but the heavenly tribulation that was wreaking havoc in the sky slowly dispersed. Princess Tianqing slowly breathed a sigh of relief. The heavenly tribulation this time around was not too difficult. For ordinary people, the profound life stage heavenly tribulation, which had a slim chance of survival, had been passed by her in such a manner. Furthermore, her injuries had not reached an unacceptable level. She had already prepared for this day for dozens of years. Originally, she could have made a breakthrough long ago. However, she had delayed it until now, allowing her to accumulate a frightening amount of power. Within the king grade, she was practically unrivaled. Now that she had broken through to the profound life stage, the foundation she had accumulated over the years had all been transformed into strength in an instant. After stepping into the profound life stage, the injuries on her body had begun to recover at an astonishing rate. The astonishing recovery ability of the demon race bloodline was completely displayed at this moment. Most importantly, the strength of her body was rising at an astonishing speed, directly leaping to the initial profound life stage, and then the peak. After a long while, she slowly opened her eyes. Is this the strength of the profound life stage? Princess Tianqing closed her eyes as she sensed the surging power within her body. It continuously boiled and surged. This was a completely different level of power and realm compared to before. If she had possessed this kind of strength before, she would not have been so powerless when facing Zhanming. Although there was still a huge gap between the initial profound life stage and the late profound life stage, just like the gap between Yi Shiwen and the old man from the heavenly nunnery. However, she would not be completely powerless to resist. However, a bitter smile appeared on her face at the same time. I was still unable to resist the temptation. I was too impulsive and directly stepped into the profound life stage. Originally, I had planned to wait until I had accumulated enough strength before directly leaping to the peak profound life stage. That way, I would be able to save countless years of hard work. Furthermore, I would also be able to establish a solid foundation in preparation for stepping into the profound death stage. It turned out that it was not that she did not have the strength to step into the profound life stage. Instead, she had purposefully controlled her strength. She had actually thought that she would be able to rise a few levels after stepping into the initial profound life stage and step into the peak profound life stage. Her ambition could not be said to be small. However, this is also good. Since I've already broken my vows, I'll directly advance. There's no need to care so much. Once I step into the peak profound life stage, so what if I don't have a divine weapon? Who would dare to make irresponsible remarks? Her eyes were somewhat cold. Ha! I never imagined that there would actually be a martial artist advancing in this place. Such exuberant vitality. After devouring you, I'll be able to directly step into the peak profound life stage. When that happens, I'll be able to regenerate and rebuild my physical body. Suddenly, an incomparably cold voice rang out from the void. Immediately after, the endless power of death in the void transformed into a huge, bloody mouth that bit towards Princess Tianqing. At this moment, Princess Tianqing had just advanced and was completely unable to move. Just as she was about to lose her life, a ray of golden light descended from the sky and transformed into a huge hand. It directly crushed the bloody mouth into pieces on the spot. The vengeful spirit did not even have the time to scream before it was crushed. A figure slowly walked out from the ball of golden light. Yi Shiwen, you've stepped into the peak profound life stage? Seeing that she had escaped from danger, Princess Tianqing did not have the time to care about anything else. Instead, she directly asked Yi Shiwen. Yes. The golden figure was Yi Shiwen. He replied with a smile. Chapter 1850. At this moment, Yi Shiwen's expression was reserved, and he did not seem any different from before. However, Princess Tianqing could keenly sense that Yi Shiwen's aura was even stronger than before. Although he had concealed it very well, her perception had undergone an earth-shattering change after stepping into the profound life stage, and could not be compared to before. Most frighteningly, even though her strength had risen greatly after stepping into the profound life stage, Yi Shiwen still felt that he was unfathomable. In fact, he seemed even stronger than before. Before stepping into the profound life stage, she was like a frog at the bottom of a well, no matter how much she speculated about the strength of profound life stage experts. But now that she had stepped into the profound life stage, she had entered an even vaster space. Therefore, she was able to see just how terrifying and powerful Yi Shiwen was. Seeing that Princess Tianqing had asked him, Yi Shiwen didn't conceal anything. His strength had undergone a tremendous change after he had stepped into the peak of profound life realm. However, he hadn't caused such a huge commotion like when Princess Tianqing had stepped into the profound life realm. He was reserved and profound, and his control over his aura had reached another level. After stepping into the peak profound life stage, he felt that he could already faintly touch the profound death stage. Originally, the life energy within his body seemed to be limitless, as if it would never grow. However, at this moment, he could clearly sense that the growth of the life energy had already reached its peak and could no longer grow any further. This was the peak of the profound life stage. If he wanted to continue growing, he had to refine the power of death and harmonize yin and yang with life and death. Only then would he be able to reach a perfect realm. When the power of life and the power of death reached the peak and perfectly fused together, at that time, they would have seen through the power of life and death and would have an extremely high level of comprehension. Only then would they truly have the qualifications to prove their Tao. The current Abyss Demon Master had already reached such a realm. Although he had yet to prove his Tao, he had already reached a considerable level. Yi Shiwen, who had yet to step into the peak profound life stage, did not have a deep understanding of the boundary and connection between the profound life stage and the profound death stage. Back then, he had only felt the strength of the Abyss Demon Master. He was incomparably terrifying and could practically shatter the heavens and earth with a single press of his hand. He was an extremely frightening opponent. It almost made him despair. He felt that he was no match for him at all. Now that he had faintly touched the profound death stage, He truly felt that the profound death stage was not an unreachable existence. Even an expert like the Abyssal Demon Master was already within the scope of what he could look up to. This was very important to him, as it meant that he had recently encountered a few more Abyssal Demon Masters. That's great! Princess Tianqing couldn't help but be overjoyed. Originally, she did not have much confidence in whether Yi Shiwen would be able to step into the peak of the profound life stage within a short span of a few days. After all, this was a dilemma that had stumped many late profound life stage experts for countless years. For them, they might not have the opportunity to step into the peak of the profound life stage from late profound life stage in their entire lifetimes. The fact that Yi Shiwen was able to step into 2 levels in such a short period of time, from the middle profound life stage to the peak of the profound life stage, was simply a miracle. Yi Shiwen laughed heartily. He never imagined that he would actually be able to advance in the past few days. Although it was only a matter of time, the fact that he was able to shorten the time to a few days was due to the vengeful spirits at the peak of the profound life stage. After directly devouring those vengeful spirits at the peak of the profound life stage, Yi Shiwen finally obtained a sliver of inspiration, allowing him to take the most important step, advancing from the late profound life stage to the peak of the profound life stage. As he stepped into the peak of the profound life stage, his strength could truly be said to have multiplied. The blood within his body was churning, as he was still immersed in the shock of his recent breakthrough. It was as if a flood that had been held back by a dam for many years had finally poured out, instantly destroying the heavens and destroying the earth, destroying everything in its path. Although it had been completely suppressed by the seal, word within his body, he was still able to carefully savor the feeling of the peak of the profound life stage. The profound life stage was different from before, as the key was still the comprehension word. Only by truly comprehending it would one be able to truly advance. Furthermore, it would be an advancement without any repercussions. At this moment, he could feel a power currently nourishing his body. A warm current slowly flowed into his chest, nourishing every single cell in his body. For the current Yi Shiwen, he could clearly feel an enormous power vibrating out from his hand as he casually waved it. Every single cell in his body had become more powerful and had become even more frightening. Simply put, although he had only just stepped into the peak of the profound life stage, his strength was already sufficient to defeat several of his previous selves. Furthermore, this was under the circumstances of a casual attack. One could completely imagine exactly how tyrannical the current Yi Shiwen was. This was also the reason why Princess Tianqing felt that Yi Shiwen had become even more frightening, despite having clearly passed the heavenly tribulation and stepped into the profound life stage. Furthermore, she was even more unable to see through him. In the past, she could only see a small stream. Now, she could suddenly see a surging river. Although she might not be able to see through Yi Shiwen's actual strength, it was already enough to make her feel that he was extremely powerful. After stepping into the peak of the profound life stage, Yi Shiwen had also become even more confident. Unless he encountered a ferocious being at the profound death stage, he wouldn't care about anything else. However, now that you've already stepped into the peak of the profound life stage, Zhanming might have also stepped into the peak of the profound life stage. At that time, I'm afraid that it will be very difficult to deal with him. Princess Tianqing reminded Yi Shiwen. Most importantly, I heard that the people of the Divine Union have even brought a battle fortress in order to fight for the inheritance of the Lord of Dead Spirits. Even a profound death stage expert wouldn't be able to deal with such a monster of war. Battle fortress. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes. Even a profound death stage expert wouldn't be able to deal with it. It will indeed be very difficult to deal with it. I understand. I will pay attention. Now, we have to obtain the divine weapon of the Nation of Darkness. Everything else is secondary. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes as he spoke. If he could obtain the divine weapon of the Nation of Darkness, he wouldn't have to worry about these people anymore. Yi Shiwen led Princess Tianqing and Yi Shiwen in the direction of the treasury left behind by the Lord of Darkness. although the entire underground labyrinth could still be considered a part of the treasury of the Lord of Darkness. The true place where the treasures were stored was in the deepest core. By the time Yi Shiwen reached the periphery of the treasury, he had already sensed many figures hiding in the void. They were extremely terrifying. The weakest among them was a king-level expert. Moreover, there weren't many such experts. Yi Shiwen glanced at them. They tried their best to hide themselves, but Yi Shiwen was still able to see through their positions and everything in an instant. He was able to see through them directly. These king-grade martialists were the various princes and princesses of the nation of darkness. Yi Shiwen even saw the figure of Princess Hiyu among them. Meanwhile, Princess Hiyu was chatting merrily with some people from the Divine Union on top of a huge battle fortress in the void. Her pretty demeanor made the disciples of the Divine Union stare at her in a daze. It should be known that they were all profound life stage experts. However, they had actually been seduced by her. One could imagine how resourceful Princess Hiyu was. On her other side, a young man in a royal robe was looking at her with dissatisfaction. This person was none other than the 13th prince. The people of the Divine Union had come to support him. Therefore, when the people of the Divine Union had appeared, he couldn't chase Princess Hiyu away. Even though he had used the conflict between the martial sect and the Divine Union to regain some dominance, he also understood very well that the reason he had such a transcendent position was because of the expansion and competition between the Divine Union and the martial sect. However, it was absolutely impossible for him to shed all pretense of cordiality with the people of the Divine Union. Otherwise, he would completely fall into the hands of the martial sect, which was something he would never allow to happen. However, this was his younger sister. He was also very clear about Princess Hiyu's ambitions. There was simply no way they could coexist peacefully. His younger sister had gotten close to the people of the Divine Union, so it was clear that she was planning to use this opportunity to pull the people of the Divine Union under her banner. This wasn't impossible. Recently, he had been wandering between the martial sect and the Divine Union. He wanted to make use of the strength of both sides to obtain the greatest benefits. However, after doing this many times, he had quickly incurred the dissatisfaction of the martial sect and the Divine Union. Furthermore, they were extremely dissatisfied. Under the circumstances, it wasn't impossible for the Divine Union to be roped in. In the Divine Union, it didn't matter whether they were princes or princesses. As long as they could achieve their own objectives, they would support the 13th prince. But at the same time, there was no difference between the choice and Princess Yu's support. Even though he knew this, there was nothing he could do about it. At the moment, he clearly felt like he had fallen into a trap of his own making. If he had only chosen to support one side, he wouldn't have failed to please both sides. At the moment, he was glaring angrily at his junior sister. Yi Shiwen's gaze swept through the crowd. He didn't pay attention to the 13th prince or the other princes. Soon, he found Qin Lai in the crowd. Chapter 1851. Yi Shiwen was surprised to find that Qin Lai's strength seemed to have made a lot of progress compared to before, but it seemed that he had some kind of magic tool on his body that could conceal his strength, so his aura was completely concealed. Just like before, Yi Shiwen was unable to completely judge his strength and to what extent it had reached, but he faintly felt a sense of danger. Beside Qin Lai, there were a few powerful Profound Life Realm experts. Although there were no Profound Life Realm experts at the peak Profound Life Realm, they were still very terrifying. This was the first time that Yi Shiwen had seen a true master of Wuzong. These masters had an imposing appearance and a strong sense of self-confidence. It was as if they were the masters of the world's most orthodox martial arts. In addition to this camp, there were also some experts from other major forces who had also arrived. Although Yi Shiwen had never seen the experts of the Heaven Wasteland Palace before, he was very familiar with their auras. It was exactly the same as Wang Chong's aura back then. Therefore, Yi Shiwen was able to recognize them very quickly. There were dozens of experts. Apart from them, there was also a prince standing in the void. Yi Shiwen knew that he was the elder brother of Princess Tianqing. He was also the first prince who was strongly supported by the Heaven Wasteland Palace. Apart from him, Yi Shiwen finally saw the person he had been thinking about. Jun Dingtian, who was standing quietly in the first prince's team. If Yi Shiwen hadn't seen him subdue a nightmare beast with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that Jun Dingtian could be so powerful. Other than these experts, there were also some powerful auras hidden in the void, and they were hidden very well. However, Yi Shiwen didn't care. Although the inheritance of the Lord of Undead Spirits was very attractive, the divine artifact and treasury of the Lord of Darkness were also very attractive to many people. These major forces are almost on par with each other and are very powerful. Just these experts alone are probably enough to overturn the Nation of Darkness. Yi Shiwen couldn't help but be secretly surprised. Although he knew that a majority of the Profound Realm experts from various worlds had gathered in the Profound World, he was still shocked when he saw so many Profound Life Realm experts appearing here. This kind of strength was probably enough to wipe out a race in the ancient times. Unless the experts from the first-class restricted areas were drawn out, no one would be able to stop them. This also made Yi Shiwen want to find the top experts of the human race. If they could return, the situation of the human race would immediately stabilize and change dramatically. Yi Shiwen, you're here? Yi Shiwen had just arrived and hadn't concealed himself, so he was immediately discovered. The first person to discover him was none other than Qin Lai. Yes. Yi Shiwen nodded. When Qin Lai saw that Yi Shiwen was safe and sound, he couldn't help but reveal a hint of happiness on his face. He said, "Speaking of which, I'm sorry about the previous matter. I was the one who brought you here and got you involved in the battle between our martial sect and the Divine Union." Speaking till here, Qin Lai also felt a little embarrassed. In any case, he couldn't come forward to protect Yi Shiwen at that time. But it's good to see that you're fine. That's good. Yi Shiwen glanced at the people of the Divine Union and said, "It's nothing. The people of the Divine Union are just some useless people. That old man from the Heavenly Nunnery is just relying on the fact that he has been cultivating longer than me. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be worth mentioning to me." His spirit consciousness scanned the battle fortress in an instant and he felt a little apprehensive. Just as Princess Tianqing had said, the people of the Divine Union had indeed brought the battle fortress. Yi Shiwen had seen many of these war machines before. The only difference was that they possessed different strengths. This war fortress was clearly extremely powerful. It was likely that even profound death stage experts would be helpless against it. What? Yi Shiwen, how dare you say that the people of the Divine Union are useless? How arrogant of you! The skinny man in the Divine Union couldn't help but reprimand Yi Shiwen as he stood up in the void. He glared at Yi Shiwen coldly and unscrupulously. Although he had heard from Zhang Ming that Yi Shiwen wasn't as simple as he seemed, he still didn't believe it until he saw it for himself. He even felt a little lucky. Most importantly, they were standing in the battle fortress. Yi Shiwen simply couldn't do anything to them. He might even be killed by them. Aren't they useless? Zhang Ming is said to be the top expert of the younger generation. What happened in the end? I chased him like a stray dog, and he used despicable means to escape. Yi Shiwen said as he looked at the skinny man coldly. This skinny man had actually recognized Yi Shiwen immediately. It seemed that Zhang Ming had returned. What? He actually defeated Zhang Ming? And he chased him like he was a stray dog? How is this possible? Impossible. However, he couldn't possibly be lying. After all, if this matter was exposed, Yi Shiwen wouldn't be able to show his face in the future. I'm afraid he wouldn't have any face in the future. Even so, this is simply unbelievable. Given Zhang Ming's strength, it can be said that it's really hard to find a match among his peers. Back when he had just entered the Profound Life Realm, he had dared to challenge a late-stage Profound Life Realm expert. How could such a person actually be defeated? Yeah, I can't believe it either. Yi Shiwen's words were like boiling water that caused the crowd to boil. Originally, everyone had only paid a little attention to this person who seemed to be hiding his strength. Who would have thought that they would actually hear such explosive news? Zhang Ming had actually been defeated. This was simply unbelievable. Qin Lai, in particular, looked at Yi Shiwen in shock. He couldn't believe that Yi Shiwen had actually defeated Zhang Ming. That was an opponent that even he had a headache over. He was so powerful that even Qin Lai wasn't completely confident that he could defeat Zhang Ming. Like many people, his first reaction was that he simply couldn't believe it. However, when he saw Yi Shiwen's expression, he couldn't help but believe it a little. Furthermore, no one from the Divine Union refuted it. Look, no one from the Divine Union refuted it. This must be true. This is too unbelievable. Could Yi Shiwen really be the nemesis of the Divine Union? He has already embarrassed the Divine Union time and time again. This time, he even chased after the genius of the Divine Union, Zhang Ming, and made him flee like a stray dog. How impressive! The people from the Divine Union wanted to refute Yi Shiwen's words, but there was nothing they could do. After all, this was also the truth. Furthermore, there was no point in refuting this matter. The skinny man looked a little embarrassed. Then he looked at Princess Tianqing and said, "Princess Tianqing, you are actually siding with an enemy of the Divine Union. Do you really intend to oppose the Divine Union? If that's the case, don't blame us for being impolite." Princess Tianqing glanced at the skinny man and said, "Don't try to use the Divine Union to pressure me. If you have the ability, defeat him first." Ever since she had chosen to leave with Yi Shiwen, she had already made up her mind. Thus, she wasn't afraid of the Divine Union's threats. How dare a mere princess from an ancient nation be so arrogant? The skinny man shouted coldly as he stretched out his palm. His entire palm was flickering with a flowing light that made people tremble in fear. His monstrous cultivation power instantly grabbed at Princess Tianqing. This was the power of a late-stage profound life realm cultivator. However, Yi Shiwen could clearly sense that he had been strengthened by an unknown power that had actually increased his strength by a whole level. Princess Tianqing's expression changed drastically. This skinny man was actually planning to make a move right away. He didn't even want to talk to her anymore. She felt the space around her being confined in an instant, making her feel as though she had nowhere to go. In an instant, she had been forced into a desperate situation. Qin Lai, who was beside the skinny man, immediately made a move. His hand transformed into a frightening dragon claw that was suffused with an astonishing radiance and grabbed at the huge hand. Boom! The two huge hands collided with a loud bang in the void. The skinny man's huge hand was immediately crushed by Qin Lai's dragon claw. Imperial Dragon Subduing Fist. What a good set of Imperial Dragon Subduing Fist. The skinny man looked at Qin Lai and couldn't help but laugh in anger. Back in the day, the martial emperor relied on this set of fist techniques to defeat everyone in the universe. Now, do you want to use this set of fist techniques to exchange pointers with me? The skinny man didn't dare treat Qin Lai, who had been born into a martial sect, the way he had treated Princess Tianqing. He simply didn't care about morality. Let's talk this out. Why do you have to make a move now? Besides, even if you don't want to give face to the monk, you should at least give face to the Buddha. The 13th prince is still here. I'm afraid it won't be good for you to attack his sister. Qin Lai glanced at the 13th prince as he spoke with a mocking expression on his face. The 13th prince looked embarrassed. He couldn't wait for this skinny man to get rid of his ambitious sister. However, even though he thought this way, he couldn't say it out loud. The 13th prince's face turned red. He didn't know whether to say it or not. The skinny man thought to himself that Qin Lai was really scheming. If he didn't care about Qin Lai and attacked directly, the 13th prince would probably have a different idea whether he was willing or not. The skinny man looked at Qin Lai and said, "Qin Lai, do you really want to interfere in our matters?" "So what if I do?" Qin Lai replied, "There's no need to trouble Brother Qin. I alone am more than enough to take care of these useless chickens and dogs." Yi Shiwen's clear voice rang out. Chapter 1852. Yi Shiwen stopped Qin Lai from standing up for him. Then he said coldly, "Do the people of the Divine Union really think that I'm a pushover? Do they think they can deal with me whenever they want? How can I establish myself in the future if that's the case? I really don't know what to do with you." Qin Lai glanced at Yi Shiwen and couldn't help but smile bitterly. "Yi Shiwen, this battle fortress isn't easy to deal with." Qin Lai transmitted his voice secretly. Don't worry, I've already thought about this battle fortress. Although it's powerful, dealing with me is like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. What's there to be afraid of? Yishuan replied nonchalantly. Where is Zhanming? He's the only one worth looking at. You guys are just chickens and dogs. You can't even see the situation clearly, yet you actually want to provoke me. You must be tired of living. Yi Shiwen's complete disregard for them infuriated the disciples of the Divine Union. They had completely forgotten that Zhanming had reminded them not to provoke Yi Shiwen. The existence of the battle fortress had given them a lot of confidence. What? How dare he say that we are chickens and dogs? Who does he think he is? A king-rank powerhouse? How dare he look down on the Divine Union? We would even dare to kill a king-rank powerhouse. Who does he think he is? What an arrogant tone. This kind of person won't live long. That's right. Kill him and wash away the humiliation he has brought upon us with his blood. Die. At that moment, the skinny man's eyes emitted a boundless divine radiance that splashed out and turned into sharp swords that slashed towards Yishuan. This was a divine consciousness that was directly manifested. It was an extremely brilliant martial technique. This skinny man had an extraordinary background, and the martial techniques he had learned were also very impressive. It's just a small trick. Yishuan's cold voice was heard. He didn't even make a move. These sharp swords were blocked by a wall of divinity 10 meters in front of him. They simply couldn't hurt him. At this moment, many people at the scene finally realized that the two of them had already exchanged blows in an instant. The initial and mid-profound life stage experts present were unable to clearly see what had happened. Only some of the late profound life stage elders were able to clearly see the movements of the two. However, they were also secretly startled. Their speed was fast to the limit. The speed of their fight is so fast that I can only see their shadows. How can this Yi Shiwen be so powerful? Yes, I've also heard news about Yi Shiwen. Isn't he only at the intermediate stage of the profound life realm? Therefore, he almost died in the hands of the old man of the Tian nunnery. How did he become so powerful in such a short time? He's actually on par with the Divine Union Elder. Could he have had a fortuitous encounter? But this is also good. The enmity between the two sides is getting deeper and deeper. In this case, both sides will be on guard against each other even when searching for the treasury. This is a good thing for us. When the crowd saw that the two sides were fighting, they began to discuss spiritedly. It was like boiling water, instantly boiling. To these profound life stage experts, this was a rare fight. This was especially so when the fight did not concern them. They were able to calm their hearts and watch the fight. Look, the two of them are fighting again. Someone cried out in alarm. At this moment, the two of them were fighting again. This time, it was the skinny man who took the lead to attack. His figure disappeared in an instant. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Yi Shiwen. He launched a frontal assault, blocking everything in an instant. Accompanying this attack was an astonishing energy torrent that exploded from the battle fortress. It instantly covered the entire sky, blocking all the places where Yi Shiwen could dodge. Damn you, go to hell! The skinny man let out a loud roar. He directly clawed out a terrifying claw shadow, which directly rushed towards Yi Shiwen's head. With the support of the special formation within the battle fortress, his strength had almost doubled. In an instant, he had broken through Yi Shiwen's golden divinity defense. He's even more familiar with this nether ghost claw technique. Compared to the time when I fought him, he can't even be mentioned in the same breath. With the support of the battle fortress, the members of the Divine Union will become extremely frightening. Yi Shiwen is simply courting death if he wants to fight them near the battle fortress. In the eyes of many people, Yi Shiwen was already doomed. Perhaps not many people would be optimistic about him. However, in reality, the outcome of the fight was completely beyond everyone's expectations. Yi Shiwen didn't even look at it. He clenched his 5 fingers into a fist and then blasted a punch. There was no strange phenomenon, nor was there any shocking feeling. It was just an ordinary punch, and it directly blasted into the netherworld ghost claw. Clang! There was a violent explosion. Then, the claw, which could casually crush metal and stone, was directly broken like a piece of paper. Furthermore, it felt as if a piece of paper had been crushed flat. Boom! Then a loud explosion was heard. The surging energy torrent swept out like a huge tsunami, sweeping in all directions. Ah! The skinny man's complexion turned deathly pale, and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Yi Shiwen in disbelief. He couldn't believe that an ordinary punch had crippled his entire hand. Others couldn't see it clearly, but how could he not, as he had personally fought against Yi Shiwen? It seemed as if Yi Shiwen hadn't used any strength. He had only punched out and waited for the skinny man to collide with him. It was as if he had collided with an iron plate. Rather than saying that his hand had been broken by Yi Shiwen, it would be better to say that it had been broken by his own strength. The effect of strength was mutual. The amount of strength used had to be the same amount of strength used. However, ordinary people simply couldn't withstand such strength, let alone retaliate. However, his physical body was able to do it. This was simply a miracle. How is this possible? How can he be so powerful? At this moment, he finally understood why Zhang Ming had told him not to provoke this fella if possible. This fella was much stronger and more frightening than what Zhang Ming had said. At first, he had thought that Zhang Ming wouldn't be able to defeat him because Zhang Ming had only recently entered the profound life realm. Just because Zhang Ming couldn't do it didn't mean that the skinny man couldn't either. Furthermore, he had the support of the battle fortress. How could there be an opponent he couldn't defeat? More importantly, he had been worried that Yi Shiwen would escape, so he had specially used the battle fortress to seal off all possible escape routes. In the end, Yi Shiwen didn't even try to escape. Now that he thought about it, he felt like he had been slapped in the face. An elder of the Divine Union? That's all there is to it. Can't Zhang Ming come out? Then I'll beat him until he comes out. The corners of Yi Shiwen's mouth curled into a disdainful smile, as if he was deliberately provoking the Divine Union. Damn it, don't look down on the Divine Union. You will die by our hands today. Just accept your fate. The skinny man roared, and an endless gloomy aura surged from his body. The aura swept in all directions. This was the aura of a race that Yi Shiwen had never seen before. The skinny man's face turned dark gray in an instant, and fangs started to grow from his upper and lower jaws. He looked extremely terrifying, just like a ferocious ghost from the legends. His complete transformation was completed. His arm, which had been crippled, had actually been completely restored with the support of a frightening power. It was completely reborn. Behind him, a lot of energy poured into the battle fortress, instantly restoring all the essential essence energy that he had consumed during his transformation. This was the truly frightening part of the battle fortress. As long as one was near it, it would seem as if they possessed endless energy. Many taboo techniques that they normally wouldn't dare to use could also be used now. Ah! I've already transformed. I have an immortal body. You can't do anything to me. He roared and directly turned into smoke that filled the sky. A big hand stretched out from this smoke. It expanded against the wind and swept down like the impact of thousands of troops and horses. It was unstoppable and immediately grabbed towards Yi Shiwen. Immortal body? Apart from a divine body, who would dare claim to have an immortal body? I'd like to see. Yi Shiwen still stood motionless. His expression didn't change. He also grabbed with his hand, which turned into a dragon claw. The golden light was dazzling, just like a real dragon's claw. Great dragon capture technique. This set of techniques that had shaken the world in the past was now displaying a terrifying might in Yi Shiwen's hands. He directly clawed at the enemy's claw. Clang! Both sides fiercely clawed at each other. It was like gold and iron. Bursts of sparks flew in all directions. It looked like fireworks in the sky. It was extremely dazzling. It was like two very strong divine weapons were clashing. Who is this Yi Shiwen? He can even block the Nether Ghost Claw. It's unbelievable. This old guy must have immersed himself in the Nether Ghost Claw for thousands of years. He didn't use it just now. After this transformation, I'm afraid that even experts at the peak of the profound life realm may be scratched. Even I don't dare to touch his peak. How can this guy be evenly matched with him? What kind of martial arts is this? From the short exchange just now, I can see that Yi Shiwen's body is also terrifyingly strong. He doesn't need any special martial arts to be so terrifying. Yi Shiwen, you've really become more and more powerful. Qinlai looked at Yi Shiwen with a dignified expression. There was also a bit of excitement in his eyes. It was as if he had seen a strong opponent, an opponent that he must defeat. Is that all? You dare to claim to have an immortal body with only this level? Yi Shiwen's mocking voice came. Chapter 1853. Is that all? How dare you claim to have an immortal body? Yi Shiwen's mocking voice came. What? In the sky, the skinny man in the black mist couldn't help but be shocked. What did Yi Shiwen mean by that? At the end of the day, your deformed cultivation is nothing more than this. You're just a little more skilled in martial arts. How dare you claim to have an immortal body? If you have an immortal body, doesn't that mean I have an eternal immortal body? Yi Shiwen suddenly felt funny. Compared to his gilded tyrant form, which had almost no flaws, this skinny man was still far from it. While speaking, Yi Shiwen's aura suddenly changed. Like a mountain, he rose from the ground, and a mighty aura swept out. Compared to a moment ago, it was unknown how many times more tyrannical it was. Boundless golden light swept out like waves, sweeping in all directions in waves. And Yi Shiwen stepped on this golden light, almost like lightning, and tore the space apart. In an instant, he had already rushed into the black mist. It's nothing more than this. Break for me! He let out a loud roar, and his hands tore out endless golden light, tearing the black fog clean on the spot. At this time, everyone finally saw that there was a skinny man with a gray complexion in the black fog. His arms were abnormally swollen, as if it was a racial talent. His arms were very powerful and could tear the sky apart. However, he couldn't gain the upper hand in the battle with Yi Shiwen. Immortal body, see if I don't break your bullshit immortal body. Yi Shiwen roared, his 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and the golden fist swept towards the skinny man like a wave. Bang! The skinny man couldn't dodge at all, and was directly hit on the spot. His figure directly flew out, like a kite with a broken string, and fell heavily on the battle fortress. He spat out several mouthfuls of blood, and all his clothes were already shattered. At this time, he was no longer able to maintain his transformed state, and slowly returned to his human form. His complexion had become even paler, and he looked at Yi Shiwen in disbelief. He was so confident that he could rely on the support and supplies of the battle fortress. He was even confident that he could fight against a peak profound life realm expert. Who would have thought that he would suffer such a huge loss at Yi Shiwen's hands? Impossible. How can he be defeated so easily? Did Yi Shiwen not use his full strength just now? It's simply a miracle. Can a profound life realm expert be so strong? Damn, if everyone is a monster like him, how can we have a chance? We have cultivated for thousands of years and are called old monsters. Compared to us, he is the real monster. Many people were in an uproar when they saw that Yi Shiwen had defeated the skinny man in just one move. They couldn't believe it at all, and felt as if they were dreaming. Kill him! The skinny man shouted towards Yi Shiwen with a sinister look on his face. Boom! 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 Deafening roars were heard, accompanied by endless energy torrents. Then, they transformed into many wonderful martial arts on the spot. Fist techniques, leg techniques, spear techniques, sword techniques. Almost everything was included. In an instant, they bombarded towards Yi Shiwen. It was completely different from before. Previously, they hadn't used their full strength because they were afraid of injuring the skinny man. However, things were different now. They seemed to want to kill him right away. What is this? It can actually blast out martial arts in the form of cannons? Yi Shiwen looked at the various martial arts torrents that filled the sky and was immediately shocked. He felt as if his horizons had been broadened. He didn't know what kind of mysteries this battle fortress possessed to be able to reach this level. At this moment, he seemed to understand why these people from the Divine Union were so confident that they could sweep away everything and even dared to provoke him. Just by relying on this battle fortress, they had the ability to gain a foothold. Yi Shiwen's figure flickered continuously in the sky. In the face of the dense and overwhelming martial arts torrents, he could only choose to dodge. The power of these martial arts torrents made even him shudder with fear. Even a peak profound life realm expert would be seriously injured on the spot if he was bombarded by these cannons. His physical body was tyrannical, and his tyrant body was even more tyrannical. Naturally, this wouldn't happen. However, he still couldn't withstand the bombardment of hundreds and thousands of martial arts torrents. If he was bombarded by so many martial arts torrents, he would also be injured. He wouldn't even be able to approach. Whoosh! 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 Yi Shiwen was like a bolt of lightning. He dodged these martial arts torrents in the blink of an eye. Even an expert at the peak of the profound life realm would be exhausted after using so many martial arts. However, this battle fortress was far from being exhausted. It had an inexhaustible supply of energy. So, it was able to unleash one astonishing martial art after another unceasingly. In the eyes of everyone, the entire sky had already been covered by the energy torrents blasted out by the battle fortress. The dazzling light instantly illuminated the dark sky of the Dead Soul Abyss. This place, which had been dark for countless years, welcomed light for the first time. However, it was such a frightening light from a battle. The entire sky was almost torn into pieces. Primal chaos poured out in torrents. It was a frightening scene, as if the end of the world had come. Not only does Yi Shiwen possess a terrifyingly tyrannical physical body, but his speed is also terrifying. With such densely packed attacks, even a peak profound life stage expert, no, even a profound death stage expert would likely be unable to dodge. An old man's face turned a little pale when he saw this scene. His lips trembled, and he was somewhat speechless. Apart from a few people, most of the people present were old monsters who had cultivated for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. Even though their cultivation bases might have been surpassed by the younger generation, their vision and insight were still unparalleled. They were definitely experienced and knowledgeable. However, even they had never imagined that they would actually see such a frightening battle. Both sides of the battle seemed to have exerted everything they had to the extreme. If any of them had been in their place, perhaps they wouldn't have been able to resist at all. This battle fortress is the weapon that the Divine Union relies on to run amok in the world. The Divine Union has relied on this battle fortress to defeat many powerful enemies and destroy many sections. It is said that this is an inheritance of ancient technology. The battle fortresses of the other sects are far inferior to the one that the Divine Union has. Even a profound death realm expert wouldn't be able to stand in front of a battle fortress of this level. They would be turned into a sieve in minutes. That's right. Furthermore, this isn't the most frightening thing. It is said that there are upgraded versions of this battle fortress that can even blast a genuine profound death realm expert to death. Fortunately, there aren't many of these battle fortresses. Otherwise, the people of the Divine Union would really dominate the world. They wouldn't go so far as to dominate the world. How could we not have the slightest foundation? How could we not have any countermeasures? The truly frightening one is Yi Shiwen. His speed is really fast. The network of interweaving battle fortresses seems to cover the entire sky. He was actually able to dodge even the slightest of loopholes. His speed is just too fast. Everyone was very surprised. Yi Shiwen was like a golden light in the sky, constantly shuttling back and forth in the sky. The torrents of the battle fort couldn't do anything to him. Not to mention, even if he was careless, he could scatter the torrents of the battle fort on the spot. Ordinary people would have died if they were touched by the torrents of the battle fort, but he was able to scatter them on the spot. This kind of combat power was an eye-opener for everyone, especially the people of the Divine Union. They weren't as carefree as the others. They weren't in the mood to be spectators. They were facing Yi Shiwen's attack head-on. They had never thought that someone could dodge the full firepower of the battle fortress. It was simply a miracle. It was completely unbelievable. He must be a monster, a disciple of the Divine Union said in a trembling voice. If someone like Zhang Ming was said to be a genius in his heart, a super genius, then this guy was a legendary monster. He was simply a monster that couldn't be killed. What kind of existence have we provoked? At this time, the skinny man was also staring blankly at Yi Shiwen, who had completely turned into a golden light in the sky. He was speechless, and he was already extremely regretful in his heart. He shouldn't have listened to Zhang Ming's words and provoked Yi Shiwen. Now, he had drawn out such a terrifying monster. This won't do. It's precisely because this fella is too frightening. He is simply a monster. Therefore, all the more we can't let him live. If such a person survives, he will definitely become a huge threat to the divine union in the future. Sooner or later, he will become the biggest obstacle to the divine union's ascension. He must die. He must die. The skinny man's eyes flashed with a crazed look as he circulated his energy to slowly suppress his injuries. After all, he was also an expert at the late profound life realm. His physical body's recovery ability was also rather shocking. After such a long time to catch his breath, his injuries had also recovered significantly. Increase the power and activate all the array formations. He must die. He must not be allowed to live. Just as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt his vision darken. A figure had leaped in front of him without him noticing. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.